Hello everyone, welcome to What If Naruto Lost Hope in Konoha and Got Baki Powers movie. Before we start, please go support Diego Pez 917 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Naruto is a male. Chapter 1. Naruto. Okay, where to start my story? I think it's fair to start my life from the beginning. I am Naruto Uzumaki. I was born in the Leaf Village, one of the most powerful ninja villages of all time. Unfortunately, my life has not been easy because I was born the day my home was attacked by a nine-tailed beast known as the Kyuubi. He attacked and destroyed everything, then the fourth Hokage ended up defeating him. I ended up being born an orphan, although for some reason I was hated by all the people around me. Every day of my life was the same. I listened to every murmur they gave me, from words like demon, monster, that I killed his family, among other things that I never came to understand. Because of that, I was kicked out of most of the stores and the only thing they sold me was rotten food. Naruto, the third Hokage, the current leader of Konoha, was my best friend. I came to consider him as a grandfather. He always took care of me, he invited me to try ramen, we even went fishing many times. He and I spent many nice moments. He was my family along with those from Ramen Ikarakus, who were the only ones who didn't run me out of the store and even gave me free food. I managed to get into the academy where I thought I would have friends, but I was hated. I only made a few friends, such as Kiba, Shikamaru, and Shuji. They are undoubtedly my greatest friends, although I had a love, Sakura, who despite hitting me, I loved her with all my being. During that time, things were that way. Unfortunately, I couldn't graduate because I was bad at using the clone jutsu. Mizuki told me that there was an extra test in stealing a forbidden scroll. Naruto, turning out to be a trap at that time. He told me the origin of my hatred. The beast that devastated Konoha the same day I was born was sealed inside me. That was why they hated me. I got too angry, and with all my anger I managed to learn a technique, the shadow clones, that helped me defeat him. After that I officially graduated and now I have a new important person for me, Iruka-sensei. After that they put us in teams. On the one hand they put me with Sakura-chan, but on the other hand they put me with Sasuke's team, acclaimed throughout the world only for his clan. Was that we met our new sensei, Kakashi-sensei. Let's say he is very powerful, having his own Sharingan, and known as the ninja who copies. We had many adventures, the mission of the waves in which we faced Zabuza and Haku. That time they named the bridge in my honor. Naruto. Then we went to the Chunin exams event where we met new people, new instructors, where during the test we were attacked by one of the Sannin. Orochimaru, considered a renegade ninja. He bit Sasuke like a vampire and left a strange mark on him. Then we were unconscious. Sakura saved us. Some sound ninjas came. Sasuke acted strange. Then we went to the preliminaries where I faced Kiba and managed to beat him. Then I had to fight against Niji Hyuga. During that time I got to know the perverted sage who gave me the toad summoning contract, and with his help I managed to defeat him with some difficulty. Then we were attacked in a great invasion where I faced Gaara. Being that he was hated like me by a charge, I managed to defeat him with the power of the Kyuubi, and I made him reflect. Naruto. My grandfather, the third Hokage, ended up dying during the invasion. After that we went to look for the fifth Hokage, the other Sannin, grandmother Tsunade. During the way we met two men with black capes with red clouds, one of them being Itachi, the older brother of Sasuke, and being the one who killed his entire clan. We managed to avoid it thanks to perverted sage. On the way I managed to learn a technique, the Rasengan. When we found her I saw that she was an old one but quite strong. Again we faced Orochimaru where I fought against Kabuto when she was named. Those of the sound went for Sasuke, who abandoned Konoha. Sakura-chan asked me to go for him, so that's what we did in a team, but we didn't succeed, so I went to train for 3 years to be stronger. Naruto. After finishing my training we returned to Konoha, now being bigger than before, now having my goal well to recover my friend, and I saw that everyone changed now, finding out that Gaara was named Kazekage and he was captured by the Akatsuki, so we went to save him. During the way I managed to discover that I am a Jinchuriki and that there are 9 beasts in total and I have the most powerful of all. We went fighting against Itachi, being that this was a rare type of clone. Anyway, when we arrived I saw Gaara's dead body. I was filled with so much fury that I got angry without thinking, so we ended up rescuing him, but he was dead. I thought I had lost my friend until Grandma Chio used the jutsu to Bring him back to life, sacrificing hers. After that, under an informant of Sasori and Akatsuki, we went to Orochimaru where I met Sasuke again, but I could not bring him back. Naruto. After that event I came to return to my home where I was now. I am somewhat angry with myself for everything that happened because I felt like a complete weakling to the point of not being able to bring Sasuke back, and well, now I find myself on Mount Hokage in the face of Grandpa Hiruzen. I stayed in that place as a way to think things through better. End of the Naruto Uzumaki story. We see how Naruto was walking around the village at night, while he was in his thoughts because he still feels guilty for everything that happened while he looked at the place, sighing heavily. Naruto, God, I have a lot of things on my mind. I have to get stronger to be able to bring the team back, for Sakura-chan and because he is my friend, and although I have improved, I must get stronger and stronger, although I have. The truth is I do not notice much improvement in myself, and the old pervert does not want to teach me more because of his network of spies. Maybe I will ask Kakashi-sensei or Captain Yamato for training. I will look for them, he said to jump through the trees. He immediately looked around for all the places where he could be found. Since it was close to the Hokage Tower, he went to that one immediately, since he was listening to a conversation where he could be heard. Tsunade, I can't believe what you're telling me right now, Yamato. I understand that the mission to recover Sasuke Uchiha was a complete failure, but that's no excuse to put all the blame on Naruto, and I'm surprised by your words coming from you, Yamato said angrily. Yamato, but the truth is, he was completely useless in every aspect. To begin with, he's an idiot who only spends his time talking. He hasn't made any progress in anything, not even where he's supposed to travel to train. At least he should have the power of a Chunin, but he's quite mediocre. He's only saved by the power of the Kyuubi that he doesn't even control or know how to use well, and that's why he goes crazy and seriously hurt Sakura, he said seriously. Tsunade, although his lack of training and progress is evident, it doesn't seem fair to me that you blame him because the mission failed. I understand that he is an idiot sometimes, but let's see, Jiraiya, I want to know what you were doing during those 3 years. Hey, you told me I was stronger, and now you bring that up with me, she said, looking at him. Jiraiya, hey, that's a lie. I wanted to train him, but what happens is that many times the brat didn't want to. He was too annoying to ask me to learn a jutsu, and he behaved so badly that I didn't even feel like doing it. Besides, I had to cover the time with my research, talk to my network of spies. I simply didn't have time for him. Besides, he's a disrespectful, useless idiot brat. The truth is, I only wanted to train him because he reminded me of his father. But hey, let me teach him something new and that's it. You don't know how he always understands with that, and is easy to deceive. Just by showing something basic, he gets excited, he said with a nervous smile. Tsunade, the objective of taking him was for him to be trained by you. It wasn't a vacation, and I see that you spent more time on your dirty tricks that you didn't even train him. The same goes for you, Kakashi. According to the reports, apart from climbing trees, you didn't teach him anything during that time, and I want an explanation, she said seriously. Kakashi, what can I say? At that time there was still Sasuke, and how can you understand he was more important apart from how annoying Naruto is sometimes that I didn't even feel like training him, added to the fact that I still had to watch Sasuke. To be honest, he is a big nuisance. I thought he would have Minato-sensei's talent, but I'm even surprised that he is his son, being that he was a prodigious man. When I found him I only saw a disaster that even if you enter he will continue being that, so why put effort into something that cannot be improved more? Is just a Jinchuriki, and outside of that it has nothing special, said Bored. Tsunade, yes, I can understand that you were looking to see a small Minato, and how he disappointed you when you saw Naruto. It was simply easy for you to leave him to his fate. You are all airheads, the three of you understand this. Being Minato's teacher and student, you know that he was not perfect, but he became who he was because you trained him correctly. And I remind you, Jiraiya, that you were also a good-for-nothing loser, and you, Kakashi, were an emo who was looking to die, and you, Yamato, what makes you strong came from a bottle, he said, silencing those mentioned who remained still. Irika, I'm very sorry to interrupt, Lady Tsunade, but I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Unfortunately, I must agree with them. At the academy he never paid attention to me, and in the ninja arts he was terrible in all aspects. Honestly, I didn't see him as a genin. If it weren't for the forbidden technique, I wouldn't have passed when the Third told me what was happening. I wanted to understand, but I wasn't the same. At least I was able to overcome it. On the other hand, he hasn't matured to the point I'm embarrassed to see how he behaves in public, and I'm still surprised that he is the son of the fourth Hokage just because he told me that was why I approached, and I'm sure he would be disappointed in him, he said without knowing that someone else was there. The blonde boy found himself listening to absolutely everything, and his mind was in a sea of emotions: surprise, sadness, disappointment, but above all hatred, clearly now showing how all those who came to be called senseis, even Irika, who he came to consider as a father, thought of him, and the straw that broke the camel's back was that they knew who his father was. They would have said even more things about what the blonde is like if it weren't for the fact that for the first time something happened that no one expected. He came out of his hiding place and punched Irika in the face, which ended up making him fall to the ground. They were surprised to see that he was in that place the whole time, but before he could say anything else, Naruto, so that's what it's about. The fact that you only approached me was out of pure pity, damn Irika, and that I'm just a mess, and that's why he left me aside during the Chunin exams, Scarecrow, also that I'm easy to fool, old pervert of shit. Well, I regret not being what that idiot fourth Hokage is, and you know I'm glad not to be like him, since someone who seals a nine-tailed beast in his own newborn son is an imbecile. Now I hate him with all my being, but above all I hate each and every one of you. I wish I had never met you in my entire life. I wish I could forget that I ever considered you as my family. I wish I could kill my silly father with my own hands, but above all I would never have been born, he said while having tears in his eyes which were blood red from so much anger without knowing that he had a blue aura and just hit something and jumped away. Tsunade, very well done to everyone, I hope you are happy. Now he not only hates his own father, but he also knows everything you said, every nonsense that came out of your mouths. Now go now, I'm going to look for him, you are some socks, she said as she urgently retreated to look for the blonde boy. Speaking of the aforementioned, he went to a training camp and was just hitting the trees, and curiously every time he hit them his strength was growing to the point of completely destroying all of them using just one hit. Naruto, I am a damn naive because I should have believed in them. For all I will always be the dishonor of the fourth Hokage. How I hate him. I would like to kill him because you did that to your son, because you hated me so much. To do this to me. I hate them, every village, that damn pink hair who hit me, all the fools who underestimate me, and no one knows how strong I am. He said while touching his head in pain and was releasing too much chakra that was not from the Kyuubi but his own. While a lot of seals appear in him, these were disappearing, which released more power and alerted all the people, and the teams went to see. Shikamaru, what is this? It's a huge amount of massive chakra, it seems to be infinite. What's going on, and who the hell is generating so much power? He said while resisting the shockwave that was. Hinata, it can't be that chakra, it can't be Naruto-kun. He's the one generating all that power. But I didn't know he had such large amounts of chakra. They're getting bigger and bigger, and they don't stop increasing, she said in surprise. Sakura, it can't be. Is it the Kyuubi's chakra coming out again? But it's strange. It has never come out in such a violent way. It usually only comes out when it gets very angry, but it has never reached this critical point, she said looking at the place. Niji, no, I have witnessed the power of the Kyuubi. It is red. But this chakra does not come from him, but from Naruto himself. It is strange how he was able to increase suddenly. When I saw him last time, he did not have this kind of chakra. It is so much that not even a human would be able to have it, he said, looking with his Byakugan. Ino, that is certainly very surprising, and it doesn't seem to have an end. Be careful. The wave of power is getting closer and closer, and it doesn't seem to stop, she said so that everyone could see how it was gathering in the form of a large sphere that was growing more and more to the point of hitting them, being that a great light was created throughout Konoha that ended up blinding everyone present, and was able to feel all that power that was on par with the same nine-tailed beija that lasted for a while until it was slowly dispersing. Guy, what was all that about? Are we receiving an attack, or do I need an explanation of what is happening here? He said, looking at everyone in the group who were arriving with their respective senseis. Ten, Guy-sensei. From what Niji and Hinata told us, Naruto is the one responsible for unleashing all that gigantic power. We don't know what the reason was, but it was too violent. It's as if he was angry about something, he said looking at him. Asuma, It can't be then. If what they say is true, then you want to tell me that that guy over there is Naruto, he said, so that everyone ends up turning around being now that he showed himself in the middle of the crash. A tall, completely muscular man with crimson hair that was lifted by the wind without a shirt, and only having his pants accompanied by a serious look. Tsunade, Naruto, is it really you? She said somewhat doubtfully, since now she looked quite intimidating, being taller than her, almost measuring 2 meters tall, while he looked at the whole place seriously. Naruto, that's my name, Hokage-sama, but if you mean if I'm that idiot who still believes in those stupid dreams of wanting to be leader of this shitty village, or in the idiots who accompany them, I think there's no need to answer that, he said seriously. Everyone's gaze was one of complete surprise. Not only had he been respectful to the Hokage, but he had also insulted not only Konoha but also those who accompanied him. While they still did not believe that it was Naruto who said those sharp words. Naruto, if you don't have anything else to say now, I simply want to be alone, since there are shitty people who all they know how to do is talk about things that they haven't even dedicated themselves to knowing everything about, because they are trapped in their perverted nonsense like the Sannin with the short hick. The urgent Scarecrow, and I'm also talking about you, shitty sensei, that I've seen you read orange-covered books during the academy, and that the experiment is a closet pervert, he said seriously. Kakashi, Naruto, what are those ways of speaking so disrespectfully? I have tolerated that you usually say many ways to me, but do not forget that I am your sensei just like they are, he said seriously, only for him to look at him with boredom. Naruto, what's wrong with you, Scarecrow? Are you bothered that only I've had the balls to tell you the truth to your face and I don't have a sensei? I never had one. I only see the 4th Hokage's fangirls, and a bad experiment that is only a useless weapon. Everything that makes him special came from a clan that isn't even his. The same goes for you. Everything that makes you special came from a Sharingan that you snatched from an Uchiha. Without it you are nothing, he said with disinterest. Such words angered Yamato so much that he kicked him, but he avoided it without any problems. He then grabbed his face with his hand and buried him, while using so much force that he ended up shattering the floor, and the mark of his hand can be seen all over the man's face. Naruto, see, you're nothing more than trash that's easy to crush. It would be so easy for me to kill you, but eliminating someone who is so weak isn't worth it. Now I want to see what this strength can do, he said, so that he made such a powerful jump that he ended up moving away from the place. Chapter 2. As you all remember, Naruto Uzumaki had finished his failed mission to bring back his former partner Sasuke Uchiha, who deserted to go with Orochimaru and gained power to kill his brother, who killed his entire clan in one night when he went to look for his sensei to ask them for even more rigorous training. However, he ended up listening to every word of what his sensei told him. It was the straw that broke the camel's back that ended up making his mind go crazy, generating too much chakra, only that unlike other times that usually would be the Kyuubi's chakra, this time it was the boy's own, and generated so much that it ended up covering all of Konoha with its great power. When it dispersed, a completely different Naruto was seen. Taller, having a height of 2 meters tall, being more muscular, his hair being now crimson, demonstrating a new strength accompanied by a new attitude. When he approached them, he showed that he no longer cared about anything, and he didn't have a single bit of mercy in striking Yamato with his palm. Obviously, that great spectacle he made didn't go unnoticed by Konoha or by some of the nearby villages, because that great power could be felt in many places, and they immediately had a council meeting to talk about that very important issue that had just happened. So they were discussing what could have been, although it seems that they weren't getting anywhere from what someone spoke. Tsunade, I know very well why they sent us to gather. We were all witnesses of that great wave of chakra power that came to hit at once. I inform you that it is not an enemy attack, and as I know that sooner or later they will discover who was responsible for that. It was none other than Uzumaki, Naruto said seriously. Hamura, what? The Jinchuriki was the one who released all that massive amount of chakra, but how did he do it? Does the beast want to free itself from its prison right now? Because if that's the case, we should lock it up before it puts the village at risk or kills too many innocent people, he said. So the civilians nodded while they waited for the vote until Shikaku, I don't think that's the case. Remember that the Kyuubi's chakra is red, and that wave of power clearly looked blue, the color of any chakra, and if so, with that amount the beast would have already escaped and attacked us. You, being the council, shouldn't jump to conclusions, he said angrily. Inoichi, So you want to tell me that the large amount of chakra that we just felt and that possibly our neighbors and enemies managed to feel was from the boy. It doesn't make sense why he released so much power, and that was the cause of all that, since it doesn't make sense that you released that large amount of chakra as if nothing happened," he said with doubt. "Hiashi, another thing that doesn't make sense is the amount of chakra that the Uzumaki released a moment ago. I know perfectly well that his clan has high chakra reserves, but that wave that he just demonstrated far exceeds Kushina's, and I even dare say that of any Uzumaki in all of history, and when I saw him he didn't have that amount. It was lower, almost like that of a Hokage," he said seriously. "I understand, just as I suspected when I arrived at this place. I see that finally the seals have been completely released. I hoped it would last a little longer until I got there. Well, it seems I arrived in time to give the boy what he rightfully deserves," said a brown-haired man to enter. "Psum. It can't be, Okami, my love, it's you. You finally came back. Tell me, were you able to solve that problem you had with your wolf summoning contract?" she said, observing the brown man accompanied by a wolf, being that this was her husband, while he says the following. "Okami, we were able to solve all the problems. In fact, my original idea was to return in a few years. However, when I felt that kind of chakra, I knew what it meant at that moment. So let me guess, it's about Naruto, right?" he said, looking at them all and more than asking. He was affirming what he said. "Shibi, from what you just said now and what you said before, it makes me understand that you, Okami, my childhood friend, have knowledge about what happened to the young Uzumaki. Isn't it true?" Okami Inozuka said, observing the man who nodded while saying, "Okami, this is a SSS rank secret that only 4 people knew. Minato, Kushina, Hiruzen and I, as many were able to realize. Naruto has the QB sealed. A few others will know that Minato and Kushina are his parents. But what nobody knows is that he was born with large amounts of chakra, the largest, so much that at birth he would have more, and that amount could kill him. Because of that, Minato, before dying, put 6 seals that cover his body, arms, legs, brain, and back," he said, to the surprise of everyone in the room. "Danzo, wait a moment, do you mean to tell me that the whole time the Uzumaki was using only 20% of his power, and that he has been containing all that energy since his birth?" he said, something more interested in the young man. Something that was noticed by the clan leaders, who looked at him angrily. "Okami, 10% in each of the parts where chakra circulates in your body, something similar to the internal doors, only that it is superior in all aspects, since once it is released it will demonstrate great power and monstrous strength, and perhaps it will have some changes. That is, for the seal to break, it would have had to have generated too much chakra so that the seals could not support the power. For now I must look for it, since it is time to deliver its legacy that rightfully belongs to it," he said seriously. "Koharu, I refuse to give that order. The brat is not yet ready to know the truth. He is still very immature and does not have the intelligence to know and endure this. Those who agree with me, raise your hand and we will take it to a vote," he said, so that the civilians would do that, smiling for thinking that it was not going to be done until they broke his bubble of ignorance. "Okami, unfortunately that is not going to be possible, since Sarutobi himself, along with Minato and Kushina, dictated and signed this document that I would decide to give it to him, and only I have it, and that consists of the bank accounts, the keys to the mansion where each and every one of the Uzumaki knowledge is contained, and I have decided to give it to him, and it is not a proposal, it is an order, since the only way to cancel it is for Sarutobi, Minato, and Kushina themselves to do it. And don't worry, I have copies for you to see," he said, turning several pages, which made the civilian council clench their fists in anger, since they know perfectly well that there was no other way, and that they were looking for the 4th Hokage's treasure, and this man had it, and nobody knew it, not even a certain mummy who was the angriest about it, just so that some of the clan leaders smiled about it. "Tsunade, very well, let's not say more. I want you to call Naruto Uzumaki. What is true is that his appearance has changed considerably. Now he is a muscular redhead who, as far as I remember, is in the forest," he said, so that some Anbus nodded and left the place. With Naruto, we see how the aforementioned was finishing stretching his muscles. He went to forest number 44, better known as the Forest of Death, where he spent that time fighting with the best beasts that were in the place, while now he was eating. "Naruto, what delicious food there is in this place. There must be a lot of exotic animals that I haven't hunted yet. It's quieter here than in this silly village. Everything I need is right here. Anyway, I'm going to take a bath. taking advantage of this whole river just for me, he said while taking off his pants and getting into the water. He was relaxing very calmly because there was no one there, and he could be at peace while he closed his eyes and enjoyed this great tranquility that he now has away from all those annoying people. But his calm did not last long since his instincts alerted him of someone who was approaching. Naruto, it seems that my tranquility cannot last too long. Tell me what you are looking for, perverted snake. Don't you see that I tried to relax properly, and you arriving at an inopportune moment, he said while getting up without the slightest shame of me seeing her without anything. Enko, I'm a pervert and the man who is naked in front of me tells me this, and why do you tell me this if we don't even know each other? How can you judge me? Put on some clothes, she said, blushing a lot from seeing the man's marked body, but much more than a certain part. Naruto, nobody sent you here, you could have ignored my presence and left. Nobody is forcing you to see me and I have my eyes up here and I call you that way because you licked the blood from my cheek during the Chunin exams event, he said disinterestedly while he sees her. The woman's gaze turned to a pleasant surprise because she remembered that moment 3.5 years ago, and now she realized who the person in front of her was and her eyes were like saucers while she thought the following. Enko, that's the Uzumaki brat, the same idiot from the Chunin exams. What the hell happened? His body changed completely. But how and in such a short time, and my god, he looks so bucking hexy now, she thought with a blush. Naruto, if you've already finished analyzing me, possibly to know if I'm lying, I know that in your mind you're wondering why I look so different. Well, it's something that not even I know. I simply got angry and now you see me as I am, but it's much better. Now I feel that I'm complete, and I am who I really should be. Now leave if you're not looking for anything else, he said, once again entering the lake and turning his back on her. Enko, what a way of speaking, it is certainly completely different from that brat I came to know, he has become a man and a very exciting one, I cannot miss this opportunity, she said, observing every part of the boy's body. Only for her to end up entering the lake while they took off all their clothes and approached the man with her hands caressing his marked and muscular body while he simply said the following. Enko, I see that you have changed a lot Naruto in many aspects, especially in this one, and yes, I think I'm looking for something more. I want to make you mine to be the first to try that body, she said while sucking the nipple while masturbating it. Naruto, so you looked for something else. You know I like daring girls who are direct with what they want, and it's more than obvious based on how you're touching me, although now that you're doing it you're my prey, and get ready because I'll make sure you don't walk, he said while his hair stood up in an intimidating way. He did the same thing else. A few hours passed where quite obscene sounds could be heard throughout the place, not to say too perverted, as Mitarashi was penetrated too forcefully, and not only that, he used the shadow clones to increase his pleasure, while his tongue was out. Enko. Ah yes, I'm all yours, ah how delicious, give me more, yes more roughly, ah, he said while sucking her neck while she feels how he filled her completely, and then she ended up fainting from so much pleasure, while he watched her. Naruto, yes, jajajajajaja, that's exactly what I mean, for it being my first time it went quite well, I see that my resistance increased enormously, I feel sorry for her, who would have imagined that it was her first time, but curiously she healed in a strange way, I wonder what the reason is, he said, observing the woman. QB. Brad, I have the answer to that. Listen, because you are a pure-blood Uzumaki, you acquired one of the abilities that consists of if someone bites you or in your case sucks you, since your muscles are so resistant that no one biting it will make it draw blood. The point is that when you had hex with this pervert, when she sucked your muscles while you were bucking her, she was healing her wounds, a very strange ability in your clan, she said, speaking in her head. Naruto. Interesting is another ability you told me about. Wow, how opportune for her. Whatever. All that's missing is for her to wake up, which reminds me of a sack of hair. I want to know if I have any other ability that I possess besides the strength that I have from birth but that I have only just released, added to the other, he said, speaking in his mind. QB. Apparently if you have another one and it is a purple fire, it is a type of Kekkei Genkai, quite powerful to use. You simply have to think that you have it in your hands, since with it you will learn many things yourself. For now you must prepare yourself, since it is more than certain that they will call you to bother you, those idiots of the council. Anyway, I am going to sleep, he said to stop him from talking. He was left thinking about what he was going to do from now on. While he was lying down, he was listening to how little by little the woman was waking up, only to notice the whole place while he hugged her completely close to his chest. Enko, it wasn't a dream, and I'm glad. If you want a wild beast that I love, I want you to make me yours for a longer time, although I want to know what makes us now. We are in a kind of relationship, or something like that, she said, observing the redhead with big muscles. Naruto, due to my great change accompanied by a great force like this, those greedy idiots will want me to have several fiancés with the excuse of re-establishing my clan, when you don't need to be a genius to know that they only use it to have more prestige and obtain the power of some of the founding clans of Konoha. That is why when those idiots call me, you will go with me and you will introduce yourself as my fiancé, since you are only mine from the moment you enter this lake. You heard me, he said seriously. Enko, bold and dominant, how I love that about men. Now he's my man. Whatever you say, now I'm only yours and no one else's. Anyway, I feel a little tired. Tell me, do you want to eat something? I'm very hungry, and we can have a date if you want, while we clean ourselves with the river water, she said with a smile. Naruto, it's okay. It's not like I have anything important to do, and it helps that I also buy some clothes since the ones before were completely destroyed and I only have a pair of pants that were already torn. Now they are even more torn, and having Hex made me hungry, he said to get up while stretching a little. Enko, I'm surprised that someone who until recently was a virgin says it as if it were nothing. Generally you should be nervous or something like that. You are a box of surprises, dear. Even so, that side of you is one of the things I like about you, she said while putting on her underwear from her panties and her bra while he says. Naruto, and this is told to me by the pervert who was also one until now. Besides, if someone wants something, let them be direct with what they want. I hate people who only stutter or faint over any nonsense. Those types of people are useless when it comes to combat, and when it comes to having relationships, whether sexual or friendship. Anyway, let's go. I feel like eating dango, he said to get up while she nods her head. So they went to the place that was close to where they were, only for everyone to stare at the redhead, since no one was able to recognize him due to his recent change. Only those who saw his transformation know, not to mention that he was now wearing new clothes, and they were eating dangos, although they eat slowly to enjoy the food they would have continued that way if it weren't for someone coming. Asuma, wow, of all places, I didn't think we'd find you here, and even more so in Enko's company. I'm still surprised that you like dango, Naruto, since I've never seen you eat one, even once, he said while smoking a cigarette. Naruto, I always eat dango. It's my favorite dessert in the afternoons after eating, as well as accompanied by hot tea at night. But let's not talk about me. What are you offering? Jounins from teams 8 and 10, I highly doubt that you just came to say hello, since rats always come as busybodies to get into things that don't concern them, he said with a cigarette in his mouth. Kurenai, what a lack of manners are those disrespectful brats. For your information, we just came to see if Enko was around this place, since we usually hang out, and wow, it was a surprise to see this because they hang out together, she said seriously. Enko, what can I say? I was in the forest of death and I ended up finding this daddy showing his delight, and I decided to accompany him for a while to see his strength and resistance, so I don't see a problem with that, she said with a flirtatious smile and being very close to the 2-meter-tall redhead. Kurenai, but what things do you say? How can you talk like that? And what kind of things did you do? You know very well that he is a minor, and what is he doing smoking? You know that is bad for your health. Now I want to know what kind of relationship the two of you have, she said angrily. Naruto, and who do you think you are to tell me what I should do with my life and that of my fiancé? If I remember correctly, when you become a shinobi, you are legally an adult, so I can smoke if I want, get high if I want, and buck if I want. The same goes for her. Mind your own business, virgin spinster, he said, blowing smoke directly in her face. Enko, Naru-kun, you are right if you have only come to judge us for the simple fact that you are totally envious that I have this Adonis as a fiancé, and that Asuma has not paid attention to you because of how stupid and spoilsport you are, and that you are going to remain a spinster forever, she said, bored while eating. His words angered her so much that she wanted to do something, but in front of them appeared an Anbu who was observing something, scared by the intimidating aura that the redhead emanated while saying, Anbu, Uzumaki Naruto is requested in the council room to talk about certain issues to be discussed. he said with respect due to the imposing man in front of him, while he stopped eating to say the following. Naruto, it seems that those rats want me to go. They took longer than I imagined. Anyway, I'm going to go, and you will come with me since I know perfectly well what they want, what they are looking for from me. He said so that she nodded and stood up, and both of them left, ignoring the two jounin. Kurenai, how dare you act like that, especially the fact that you left Yamato in such a lamentable state that even Team 7 and ours stayed in the hospital. You are a disgrace, she said angrily. Asuma, when he took the cigarette from me that I had in my hand, even more so when he lit it I wasn't able to see it, well, Yamato was the one who attacked him and he was defending himself. And whether you like it or not, they are right, it's their lives, and if he wants to go out with the boy, it's his problem. So leave them alone and get used to this new attitude, he said, walking away. In the council room, we can see how everyone was waiting impatiently for the boy's arrival, only to hear footsteps and see with their own eyes a redhead with somewhat long hair who is 2 meters tall, accompanied by some very marked muscles, accompanied by a certain snake woman. Naruto, well, let's stop this nonsense. I know perfectly well why they called me. I suppose that now that they know about my great change and strength, they want to tell me that the Uzumakis are in fact a clan, because I already knew that. Also that I knew that they want to put me in the clan restoration law to have wives and take advantage of them to have prestige. Because that will not happen since I will choose them, and Anko Madarashi is one of them, and I do not like civilians since I hate weak women, and if you have something to tell me, say it to my face, garbage, he said with a smile, still holding his cigarette. Such words were a pleasant surprise for everyone except for Tsunade, who until then had been calm. But the rest of the leaders looked with their eyes wide open after hearing how brazen and direct he was, added to how imposing he looked, and the civilians said nothing out of fear of seeing how imposing he was now. Even Danzo remained silent. Okami, ha 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 ha, as shameless as your mother, you are a box of surprises, and you did well to put them in their place. That is worthy of an alpha like you, and I can tell you that I give you what rightfully belongs to you, the bank accounts of your father, and the Uzumaki clan, the keys to the mansion of your parents, where each and every one of the Uzumaki knowledge is contained there, he said, giving him a sealing scroll. Naruto, perfect, I came looking for old copper and I found pure gold. With this, I will be able to learn many things. I appreciate it, Okami-san. Now you know, I am going to take everything that belongs to me, that includes the land, and I hope you have your money ready. If not, start abandoning your things, and I will also take my position on the council as a representative of my clan, he said with a smile. Jiraiya, wait a minute, you can't do that yet. Remember that you're just a genin and we don't know your level yet. Besides, I don't approve of him having his inheritance. He's not ready to receive it yet, and as the godfather that I am, it's my responsibility that I have that part, and no one. But he was interrupted because the redhead connected a blow directly to the face of the Sannin of the Toads, which ended up causing him to spit out a large amount of blood all over his body until he became unconscious. Naruto, that pervert had me fed up, and don't try to take the role of godfather now when you weren't there in my entire childhood, you old shit, and unless someone wants to end up the same, it would be better for them to shut their mouths, he said in a dark tone as some Umbus appear ready to attack him only to be stopped. Tsunade, Umbus do nothing and take Jiraiya to the infirmary. You Naruto are going to be promoted to a Chunin, as it always should have been, since you showed you have what it takes by defeating Shikaku the one-tailed beast 3 years ago. Congratulations, and he will occupy a position on the council, and if you say something you will end up just like that pervert, but only this time it will be by my hands, she said angrily. Danzo, it's better to listen to him and not try anything right now. He has great monstrous strength that is capable of surpassing everything we know, he said to everyone's surprise that neither he nor the elders said anything about it. Naruto, I see you know what you're up against, old man. Anyway, I have to go. I have better things to do. By the way, as a way to show what I'm worth, tomorrow at 8 I want to have a fight with the Scarecrow Hataki. Mato guide them against me. I want to have fun with them. I want to try some skills, he said with a smile as he walked to his fiancée's side. Civilian 1, how could you possibly not have said that you didn't see what that disrespectful brat just did and you did absolutely nothing to stop him? Are you crazy or what? One of them said angrily while these others were protesting. Hamura, they are idiots. Even if we had said something, it would have been of no use at this moment. That brat has a strength that is beyond our reach. He has awakened one of the strongest genes of all, and I'm not referring to the Uzumakis themselves. he said to the surprise of everyone present. Shikaku, okay, now I'm completely confused about which genes are talking about and why it is so important that all of you have that fear of it. Can you explain it to us if it's not too much trouble? He said, confused like many in the room. Tsunade, this is a fact forgotten by the entire world, but a long time ago an Uzumaki who wanted to sail the world to know the world met a man, but he was not an ordinary one. He was very muscular, and always had a smile. She saw with her own eyes how with her own hands he managed to finish off an entire battalion of S-rank shinobis alone without even sweating, and using a technique with which he was feared so much that even she was very afraid of him, and this man was known as Yuichiro Hanma. They clearly faced each other, and no matter how hard he tried, he never won a single fight. As time passed, they fell in love and they both got married. The two had 2 babies. One was my grandmother Mito Uzumaki and the other was a man whose name is still feared today, Yujiro Hanma. He received his father's last name. He always showed an attitude of being the strongest. He always did things alone. He received quite hard training. At the age of 16 he sneaked into the First Shinobi World War, and he alone represented the Uzumakis, and he eliminated everyone using only his fists. No one was able to stop him, he said seriously. Koharu, not even Hashirama Senju or Madara Uchiha could against him, since they both faced each other using all their strength, but he defeated them using only his brute force and showing great cruelty by killing as much as he could. He was known in the shinobi world as the ogre, and never came to obey anyone, and anyone who did ended up dead or without a part of their body due to his great strength. He felt in his being that weight of not having a rival. That is why he had a son. His name was Baki. Hanma said, still remembering that story. Danzo, showing why he was like that. The ogre was so cruel to kill his own wife in front of his son so that he would hate him and retaliate against him, and just as it happened, Baki was advancing training, improving his fighting style for years, until in the middle of the Second Shinobi World War ended. The great fight between father and son showed the 2 great absurd strength, both fighters so strong to be able to defeat the Kyuubi using only brute force. Both ended up dying, piercing each other's hearts with their fists, and I know because we witnessed the biggest fight between father and son that I have ever seen, said seriously Inoichi. I understand it seems to be a story taken from a fairy tale of a man with a strength that surpasses everything we know, but what they are trying to say is that Naruto has not only awakened the Uzumaki genes but the Hanma genes, he said, looking at them. Hamura, it is more than evident, and I am sure that Sarutobi along with Kushina knew what the boy was destined to become, not counting the ability that only the Hanma possess, and that is the demon's back. This ability increases their strength to the maximum, and when they release it on an opponent, their destiny is marked. And that boy's back was beginning to move a little, which means that it will not take long to wake her up, so tomorrow when they fight they will realize what we are talking about. He said this while sighing. The next day, we see in the great combat arena how many people were there, and in them were all the villagers together with the shinobis waiting for the fight that was going to take place, while it is shown to the opponents that only one of them had a smile for seeing the whole place. Jounin, we are very happy that you are all gathering in this fight. It will be using one of our 2 best Jounin from the Leaf Village, Kakashi Hatake and Mado Gai, who are going to face the new leader of the Uzumaki clan. Many know him as the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi, but do you think that blonde brat spoke? Of course not. Now he will show all his strength at its maximum splendor, and which he was repressing for so long. He is Naruto. Hanma Uzumaki said, so that everyone would look at the redhead with a predatory smile. Tenten, hey, do you think Naruto can really beat them? I don't want to give him credit, but he was barely promoted to Chunin until recently, not to mention that Kakashi and Gai Sensei are very strong, stronger than us, he said, looking at the sand. Niji, if it were another case maybe I would agree with you, but if what they said is true, then the whole time we have been with a Naruto who had those seals that blocked all his chakra and developed strength, and now that none of us are here we don't know what kind of strength he has right now, since with my Byakugan I see it, and it's like seeing solid chakra throughout his body, even his bones have layers, he said seriously. Ino, I'm still angry with him for how he left Captain Yamato in that state, and not only that but he also left Master Jiraiya the same or worse. I saw his bones were crushed. Sakura and Lady Tsunade have been taking care of him, and they say he is in mortal danger. He is a wretch, she said angrily. Shikamaru, you know you shouldn't judge without asking. We all know what Naruto was like before becoming what we see now. Something must have happened for him to act that way, and since he has forgiven many things, it means that what happened was very serious, and until we have the full context we can't judge Naruto's actions, he said seriously. Kiba, in fact, my dad came and told me everything. Naruto was born with high chakra reserves that could have killed him even though he was just a baby, and that's why the third Hokage put those seals on him, and from what Lady Tsunade told him, it seems that it all started because Yamato blamed Naruto for failing the mission to bring back Sasuke, and that Jiraiya never trained well during the 3 years they were gone or taught him a new technique, added to the fact that Kakashi never trained Naruto, not even when he fought against Neji. He told me that he abandoned him and that apart from climbing trees he didn't teach him anything, not even a jutsu, he said to the surprise of everyone who was listening to him around him. Chuji, seriously, that explains why he's so angry. I would be too if Asuma-sensei had favoritism for Shikamaru. He taught me some techniques that helped me improve my expansion jutsu, so I can't believe he really did that, he said while eating chips. Kakashi, Naruto, I don't know what the hell is wrong with you or why you wanted to face us, but there's no point in doing so when everyone in the stadium knows what the result is going to be, so I'm asking you to. But he was interrupted by a punch that hit him squarely. To then give him a large amount of a deadly and lethal combo of blows with his purple flames to send him flying with a powerful attack that would leave him seriously injured while he watched as he was seriously injured. Naruto, that's all the copying ninja can do. You're a big fraud. Even a genin knows that in a fight your enemy will take advantage whenever he can and won't give you a second to respond. Trusting your opponent can cost you your life, he said, then launching more blows against him. With each blow he gave him you could see how he was bleeding excessively while the whole stadium remained silent watching how they were massacring the poor Hatake while someone spoke to say the following. Asuma, his speed, fighting style and monstrous strength are terrifying. His blows are like Lady Tsunade's, and what is that purple fire she uses to hit him? I never heard of that, he said surprised. Tsunade, that fire is a Kekkai Genkai of the Uzumaki clan, too rare, and from what I see, he is using the Hanma fighting style and he does show no mercy, especially with Kakashi, and you are wrong. Asuma, his strength is greater because I need to concentrate chakra to be able to do something similar. Instead, what you see is his brute force in all its splendor, he said while watching the fight. Kurenai, but there is something that doesn't make sense. How is it that in just one day he was able to improve a combat style even more? How is it that he managed to combine it with that Kekkai Genkai and add it? It is impossible that he has improved in such a short time, she said seriously. Enko, I see that you underestimate my dear fiancé Kurenai-chan too much. I'm just going to tell you that he discovered the secret of one of his techniques that is the key to ending paperwork and improving faster, he said with a smile. Meanwhile in the arena we see how he was still hitting the Hatake excessively, and noticed how his body was now not moving at all only to see how he transforms into a log so that he can carry a lot of power and says, Kakashi, lightning style jutsu lightning beast and race. He said it while releasing a great attack that took the form of a lightning dog that gave a roar to hit the redhead, which created a smoke screen. While he falls to the ground somewhat exhausted due to the blows that the redhead sent so much that he stayed for a moment to rest a little, while breathing heavily while he says the following. Kakashi, I admit that you have a monstrous strength. I could say that not even Guy compares to your strength, but you made a mistake in having trusted too much of that. Logically I have more experience than you. So whoever wins the match, he said seriously. Only for him to receive a powerful blow from the redhead who was behind him while another Naruto appears who gives him many more blows while he ends up falling to the ground on his knees while he tells him the following. Naruto, maybe you have more experience but I am superior to you, or is it that you still don't realize why you think Mato Guy hasn't helped you? The original is fighting against him and I am just a shadow clone just like those you have faced. Now it is time to finish you off, he said while observing the almost dying body of the Hatake. After saying that, he would throw a flame towards the Hatake which exploded leaving him with serious injuries accompanied by burns all over his body while he was completely unconscious while he ended up dedicating a few words to him. Naruto, I have one now that the one you abandoned and despised who said that regardless of whether I was trained or not I would be trash. Now everyone knows who is trash and I'm going to take my battle trophy, he said with an evil smile. And without a shred of mercy he removed the Hitaki's Sharingan eye, causing a great heart-rending scream that left the room horrified at the brutality he had while he simply kept it in a sealing scroll. Hinata, that Naruto-kun is wilder, he has no mercy and is very exciting. I don't know why I like seeing him and those muscles that leave nothing to the imagination, she thought too much, blushing, looking at her lover. Shino, so that was his plan from the beginning, he is quite intelligent. When he hit him, Kakashi did not realize that he had created more clones, and with so many hits he forgot that he was not the only one fighting, he said seriously. Niji, it's more than that, with the clones I could notice that he was analyzing each of their movements. That's why he knew when he was going to launch that attack without him realizing that it only hit one clone, he said, watching the fight. Tintin, wow, I didn't know you could do that with clones, but how come I analyze them? That isn't supposed to just clone yourself, and she said with doubt while she observed everyone until someone spoke to say the following. Asuma, it's much more than that. Shadow clones are a technique that the second Hokage created to gather information, since all the experience and knowledge that the clone has at the time of exploiting the original will receive all that information, he said seriously. Shikamaru, if what you say is true, then it can also be used to train and do a 1-week training in just 1 day, but of course as a consequence it is mentally exhausting, and I see that he did that to get stronger, right? He said seriously. Enko, yes, in fact, due to his high chakra that he has added to his resistance, he does not receive the secondary effect of mental exhaustion, so much so that yesterday he generated around 4,000 clones, and each one he used to train, and that is why he was able to learn almost 4 years in 1 day. He also uses them for very interesting things, he said with a blush and drooling a little. Tsunade, in other words, using that rigorous training method that is rewarded with resistance, Uzumaki will surpass us all in less time than a rooster crows. He is a monster, just as Yujiro thought while observing everything. Minutes before in the original Naruto fight against Mato Guy. Naruto, now that I left my clone, it seems that what really interests me is that I want to fight against you, Guy. Among all of them I can see that you are the strongest, surpassing even the Jounin, not to mention that I have seen your fighting style and I want to see it. Show me what you are capable of, he said to be in a pose. Guy, I will do it and I accept it. I will also show you the power of the flames of youth. I want to see what you are capable of, he said to also get into a fighting pose, as both looked at each other in a challenging way. They launched into a fierce hand-to-hand combat where both hit and dodged attacks, both proving to be evenly matched while they retreated only for them to stare at each other while they say, Naruto, if that was the best combo of blows I've had, let's go, Guy. I want you to use all your power. Show me what the 8 inner gates are capable of. I want to know the extent of all your strength that you have in you, he said while getting up. Guy, I must say I'm surprised. I even activated the second gate, and you were able to endure it like this. You're too amazing. Now I'm not going to hold back with you. I'll show you what my youth can do, he said as he raised his power. Guy, the 8 inner doors, 6th door of joy open. He said it while he raised his strength. At the same time his skin turned completely red and he was surrounded by a great aura of power that ended up making the entire platform tremble. For this to go at a great speed and would give him a burst of kicks and then send him to the ground while he rose to the sky while he began to generate a great amount of power to tell him. Guy, now get ready Naruto, I'm going to use one of my best techniques. I hope you can withstand this ability that I've only used once against an opponent. I hope you're ready because now I'm not going to hold back at all. He said to make a pose and say the following. Guy, 6th gate. Gate of joy. Hiradora. He said to make a pose and form a great tiger of great power while this ended up hitting the redhead, which ended up creating a great smoke screen. For many who were paying attention to the real fight, they thought that with that attack he had completely finished off the boy, only for the smoke to slowly disperse and show how he barely had any minor bruises all over his body. Naruto, that's exactly what I mean. Your taijutsu would have undoubtedly hurt me, and I can say that even a Kage who had received it would be completely hurt, but it's not fair that only I receive it now. I will show you a fighting style that my clan has kept and preserved, he said to make a pose while a blue aura surrounds him in his hands. Naruto, fighting style bang. Flowing water fist current destroys rocks. He said so that he threw a combo of blows at a powerful speed while a last blow ended up knocking him to the ground. Guy, that fighting style is surprising. That was the legendary fighting style Bang, who was a great master who came to create one of the most powerful fighting styles of all. Yes, it is surprising. It left me completely destroyed, he said weakly but with a smile. Naruto. Mato Guy, someone who was born without the ability to use chakra. You were despised for that and many came to call you a loser, but that never stopped you. You followed the same path as your father, and you use the internal doors that although it is a dangerous ability you have known how to handle it like a master, and created your own combat techniques, and you act as you are regardless of what others say about you, and that is why both you and your father and Rock Lee, I recognize them as warriors and as my rivals, and take this book contains the way to use that combat style that I just used, and it will only respond to your warrior aura so that only you get to use it and decide who you should teach it to, he said to give him the book while putting a seal that made his wounds begin to heal. Rock Lee, Naruto's flames of youth are at the peak. Yes, I love this epic fight. Now I'm decided to want to fight him, he said while having fire in his eyes from the excitement, while he had a big smile. Ino, listen, I don't understand why he healed him and instead recognized Kakashi-sensei. He hurt him, leaving him seriously injured, and on top of that, he took away his Sharingan, she said, watching as the aforementioned was taken away by the doctors. Kiba, Naruto is like an alpha. They only recognize the good fighters who have given him a great battle, so much so that he said he respected him. However, Kakashi underestimated him from the first moment, and with how bad Sensei was with him, it's no wonder, he said, observing him. Shikamaru, with what he has shown by having that kind of power level, it is obvious the new rank that this Naruto will give him, although being a jounin is very low, but it is becoming more annoying every time, he said sighing while looking at the redhead. Chapter 3. After the battle of Kakashi and Mato Guy against Naruto, where as a result the now proclaimed Hanma Uzumaki ended up winning, many quite interesting things happened. One of them was that due to that great force accompanied by a new Kekkei Genkai, he ended up being promoted to a jounin, although he never used the uniform because it did not go well with his style, and that was how he was told. Because of that he was now the heir of the Uzumaki clan, added to all the Uzumaki territories that are throughout Konoha are now his property, which made hell for civilians. Because many of those stores sold him rotten food at exaggerated prices, all of that made them pay a sum of money that they owe with interest and an extra bonus for scamming him, because it was that or their store was going to be demolished. Many were willing to do it. Others who believed themselves superiors ended up seeing how their store was destroyed by blows by the redhead until not a trace of what was left, being that now in Konoha he was feared and respected. Anyone who wanted to disrespect him paid completely dearly, and being that he helped some people who came to feed him. Especially with Ikaraku's ramen, they managed to expand their premises along with Dango's now having more customers and eating, learning new recipes now being the most popular premises in Konoha. Of course, not everything was happiness, they were in mortal danger. However, the fact that Kakashi lost his Sharingan was something that marked him, added to that all his wounds were going to leave a large burn scar that took around a few months to heal completely, but he was still able to feel that intense pain, one that he had never felt before. Not even Jiraiya was saved. His condition was similar to Yamato's. He ended up losing many teeth, so he uses false teeth. Now the same thing is happening with the failed experiment. Miraculously, they managed to repair their skulls, which are now somewhat wavy and a slight mark from his fist. The moment they woke up they asked for explanations, remembering what happened, being that they asked for a punishment, and being detained by the Hokage for reasons. Yamato was the one who attacked him first. Jiraiya was too loud and Kakashi became confident in his fight, thinking that his fighter was a weakling. As for our protagonist, he spent most of his time training, improving by learning the combat styles of the Hanma along with that of the Uzumakis. Not only that, he came to learn how to use the sword, being already a master in that area, but he did not use it almost much just because he liked to use his fists more. He also spent time with Enko, being his fiancée, because he knows that they must have dates sometimes. Moments where they have sexual relations, equally respecting each other's privacy, and sometimes he came to talk with the Suma Rock Lee guy or with Niji, Shikamaru, Chuji, Kiba, and Shino. Outside of that, except for the Hokage, he didn't talk to anyone from Konoha, nor did he dare to see his former team because due to his promotion he left them aside exactly the same as they did to him at the time, and honestly he didn't care at all because to begin with Sakura was a nuisance, and in his eyes she wasn't a kunoichi despite the fact that he had no problems with Sai. He wasn't stupid, he recognized a silent seal located on his tongue and knew who he worked for, which is why he kept his distance, just as he does with the Anbus of the Hokage and those of Root. During that time Naruto often made solo missions S rank, in many of which he faced battalions, which he sees as his fun toys, where he left them completely dead, being recognized in the shinobi world and a high price on his head due to the amount of money he earns from his territories and his parents' bank accounts. He has the pleasure of enjoying some luxuries that he also shared a little with his fiancée. In fact, in his territories he created some traps. He put mixed hot springs, a seal that eliminated perverts with snake venom, which was Anko's idea. Present. We can see Team 8, 10 and 7 with their respective senseis, except that Yamato was not with Niji and Tenten. They stayed to eat at the Akimichi barbecue for a meal where everyone was arriving while they talked among themselves. Chuji, oh, I'm already very hungry. Do you think we can eat now? He said very impatiently since his stomach was growling like crazy asking for food, since someone spoke to him to say the following. Kiba, calm down, although I'm still hungry, not everyone has arrived yet. Remember that almost all of us agreed among ourselves that Naruto will still come to eat, so it won't be long before he gets here, he said nonchalantly while everyone remained silent until someone said, Ino, what things do you say? How could you invite him, especially if they are there? Perhaps they have forgotten everything he did to Kakashi and Captain Yamato. This was supposed to be a quiet meeting. Why did you think of inviting him? She said very angrily. Shino, actually it was Asuma-sensei who invited him. We talked about it among the boys and we didn't see any problem with it since we get along well with him actually. So if you have any objection then tell it to your sensei, he said seriously while looking her directly in the eyes. Kakashi, Asuma, how could you possibly invite him? You know very well that he and I have not had a good relationship since the battle we had a couple of months ago, not counting his aggressive behavior. Who knows what he's going to do? He said, looking at him. Asuma, oh, don't tell me you're scared of him after the beating he gave you and you still hate him for taking away your Sharingan. Beat him in a fight against your enemy. He'll do that if he defeats you. Let's see if that makes you stop trusting that I. And besides, you never had a relationship with him because you didn't even bother to get to know him better. And so that you're calmer, he'll come accompanied by Anko, and as long as you don't underestimate anything about him, everything will be fine. He said, bored, smoking. Sakura, but how do you not want him to feel fear? When we went to take him to the doctor, he had serious injuries. It doesn't seem like he has faced a shinobi, apart from how filthy he was when eating before. Now I don't even want to imagine now that he has become a disgusting immature, Baka said with disgust. Niji, better keep quiet because of all of them the most immature is you, and that he didn't listen to you because if he does something to you no one is going to save your mediocre and horrendous existence, said Sari while simply looking the other way. Just when he said that the whole atmosphere became too tense as if a creepy being was approaching, but it was not for more since the muscular redhead had arrived at his fiancée's side. But each step he took, all the people around him produced a feeling of fear and respect for the imposing aura he gave off, and without saying anything he sat next to Shikamaru while Anko stood at the other end of the place. Anko, sorry for taking so long. What happened is that we were busy doing the typical things that engaged people do when they are completely alone. Now if we can all eat quietly, she said with a beautiful happy smile, while she seized them. So everyone was ordering their food, although the waitress was trembling when she asked the redhead for the food, who simply waited and spent the time talking among themselves, although the tension of the redhead was noticeable, who remained silent the whole time, and only responded to the things his friends said to him after a while until the food arrived while someone excitedly said, Chuji, finally they brought it, I'm very hungry, he said to start eating quickly, and Kiba was doing the same while everyone eats the same although more slowly. Everything lasted in silence until someone says, Naruto, that's not right, Kiba, Chuji, you shouldn't just put food in your mouth like crazy, you should be more aware of what you eat. Everything you're eating was alive to a certain point, and all of that when you consume it stays inside you. That's why you should be more aware of what you eat, it's the responsibility. The duty of those of us who consume life, he said seriously while he goes back to eating. At those words, everyone, including the people around him, from the families and the waiters who heard his words, were completely perplexed, especially those mentioned above, who for the first time were looking at their food and were now eating more slowly and calmly, and other people began to do the same. Shikamaru, without a doubt they were wise words, not even I could have thought of better words. They have even inspired me to see food in a different way, and I see that I am not the only one, he said, observing the faces of his friends. Kakashi, what an exemplary lesson, you really surprised me. Who was it that taught you how you should see food? He said with doubt, and too surprised to the point of not being able to see the manners since he still remembered what it was like to eat ramen like crazy. Naruto, the only thing that should be clear to you is that you did not teach it to me, but answering your question, I learned it on my own by being surrounded by nature and its law of how to survive, which is to eat or be eaten. Thanks to that, I learned that it is our self-imposed responsibility to honor the lives of everything we eat, from animal meat to plants, since they also have life, he said, drinking a little beer. Asuma, surprising that you learned all that. Without a doubt. I think maybe we should make a camp so that like Naruto they learn from her, and we do simulations of when it's our turn to camp. What a great idea you gave me, he said with a smile while looking at him. Leaving that aside, now I realize the boy who recently joined your team, right? If I'm not mistaken, his name is Sai. Let me introduce myself. I'm Ino Yamanaka. I'm a member of the Yamanaka clan. It's a pleasure to meet you, he said with a smile. Sai, when you tell women the truth, they go crazy. The best thing is to tell her something more kind and affectionate. It is a pleasure for me to meet you, young beauty, he said with a smile, only for the aforementioned to end up blushing a little. Sakura, you called her beauty, and why didn't you tell me that way? You told me I was ugly. You're going to pay for this, she said angrily, about to hit him, but was stopped by the redhead's hand, who squeezed her, making her fall to the ground. Naruto, typical of you, big forehead, circle hair, always having anger issues over silly things. Besides, you know that your partner doesn't understand emotions well and he didn't mean to. Even so, you start making a fuss and destroying the restaurant because you don't know how to control yourself. You're pathetic, and you, Scarecrow. Let your student hit you without justification. What kind of sensei does that? How irresponsible. And I see that I'm not the only one who agrees, he said, observing the people who were looking at them. Manager Akimichi, you are absolutely right, Uzumaki-sama. If I find out that in my restaurant they do that again, I will fire the two students, and sensei, since I see that you do not know how to teach him to behave, you should learn from Uzumaki-sama, who is a true gentleman. I will make a rule that if someone gets angry due to fits of rage, I will fire him immediately, and all my colleagues in restaurants will recommend the same, he said, to retire to his work. While the rest of the people were murmuring bad things about Kakashi and Sakura and the aforementioned, plus the bubblegum-haired girl who was completely embarrassed, so she stood there like a scolded hitch looking with some anger at something red-haired. Kiba, finally someone stopped them. I was getting fed up with the fact that they always get angry over a simple opinion. We all have the right to have an opinion on whether we like something or not, and before that they must maintain composure. It's like they tell me all the time that I'm a dog, and I take that as a compliment, he said seriously. Naruto, exactly, everyone has their way of seeing things. An example of this is that from my perspective, among the new generation of Chunin kunoichis at this table, only one is really a true ninja, he said calmly. Tenten, hey Naruto, you shouldn't be saying those things. I understand that many of us are not as strong as Anko-sensei or Kurenai-sensei. Even so, we have our worth and strength, she said a little angrily while he looked at her. Naruto, and when I said that I was referring to the strength or control of chakra apart from the only one who really is a true ninja and a true kunoichi chunin rank of this table is you, dear. Tenten said to put a bite of food in her mouth while the mentioned one opened her eyes wide. Asuma, interesting. Naruto spoke for everyone when he said that we would like to know why you say that guy Tenten's student is a true ninja and a true kunoichi chunin rank of this table, he said, so that everyone would pay attention to him. Naruto, I say this because of his reason to become strong, starting with the Yamanaka and the bubblegum hair forehead. Since the academy, they always had a common reason to become a ninja, and that was none other than the Uchiha, who was known among the girls as the last drop of water in the desert. They all wanted to become shinobi so that he would fall in love with them. Because of that, none of them trained any jutsu. They simply focused on looking good so that the Uchiha would fight them, which turned them into a burden. And although because of your teachings Asuma took away that obsession, it does not mean that she is still somewhat interested, and still does not have a reason to become stronger. And I know that many times you have thought about it, right? He said calmly. What made the Yamanaka surprised was that he had read her as if she were an open book. She could only nod slowly with her head while he decided to continue with his conversation, and then turned to see the other girl. Naruto, moving on to the bubblegum hair forehead due to the scarecrow's favoritism towards the Uchiha and how she licks his feet when she sees him. It made him not train, and that's why he didn't make it to the finals of the Chunin exams. She was useless in the mission against Zabuza, and when her beloved left, that's when she wanted to become strong, and to this day she still believes that he will return to Konoha, fall in love with her, and get married as it has been in all his fantasies, from the normal ones to how he was going to buck her. And I know it because he says it here in his diary. I brought copies so you understand why she should not even be considered a kunoichi. He said to pass her some sheets that everyone out of curiosity were taking, making many a little disgusted to see what was happening, and she was completely furious to the point of not being able to attack him, but simply using a single finger he left her unconscious. While I admit that I have had my own diary which did show those things, and yes, this is Sakura's handwriting, and I recognize many of the chapters when I matured enough to throw it away and move on with my life. I thought she did the same. Now I understand how my life would end up if I were still in love with Sasuke. Thanks for this teaching, Naruto said, making a small bow. Naruto, I'm glad that at least you matured. Continuing, we move on to the Hyuga. She only needs one problem, and that is that she wanted to become a ninja because her father was obliged to be the heir to the clan, and like the Yamanaka she became strong out of love, but not towards Sasuke. But for me, I know you're in love with me. Unfortunately, I don't like you, and you confuse. It's not love. What you feel is admiration for how my old self tried. I know you are strong, but you still need to find your true reason to become stronger. I hope, and you understand, because when I talked to you or was by your side you fainted, and that makes you useless when it came to a fight or a mission, he said, looking at her. Hinata, even though it breaks my heart to know that now, your words made me realize that I've been confusing love with admiration all my life, from the time you saved me. How you motivated yourself despite everything they said. Thank you. Now I know I must find my path, ninja. Although for me you will continue to be an example to follow, he said with a smile. Kurenai, for years I always tried to get rid of that obsession of spying on Naruto, or the fact that she was always thinking about him and not concentrating. But with just those words he made her change her mind. I see that you are not the rude boy that I thought. She said it in her thoughts, looking at the redhead. Naruto, finally we have Tenten. Her desire to become stronger was proving that women are strong using only weapons. That's why you handled many styles using scrolls, and despite losing to the Kazekage Gaara's sister you continued advancing, although you still need to improve your combat styles and weapons to have a better defense and attack. You can ask Asuma to teach you how to use his chakra blades, he said, so that she was surprised and nodded her head. Sigh, if you allow me to contribute something on the subject. Another example of this was you before you changed. Yes, you had a silly dream of wanting to be Hokage since you thought that with that people were going to respect you. Something very silly in my opinion, he said with a smile. Such words made everyone scared because they thought that with their words they were going to anger the muscular redhead, the opposite of reality, since he was laughing like crazy, which left them with a face of what the funk, while between laughs he says the following. Naruto, ha 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 ha, you're not wrong about that. Sigh. That dream was very stupid. My old self wanting to seek the respect of people who don't even deserve it. The key to life is that everything is achieved with strength. Just be strong and the rest will come alone. But since we're talking about my old self, I must confess that that was not his dream. His true dream and desire was one, and that is to have a family. He said the last thing seriously. His words now left a deep silence in the whole place. Even the people around him looked in surprise at the blonde boy with fox marks who always shouted his dream to the four winds. Now they know what the real dream was, something that left many with a lump in their throats. Naruto. At that time that idiot came to believe and see the shit sensei of the academy as the father he never had, along with the short hick pervert of the toads, the Scarecrow as an older brother along with the traumatized Uchiha and the bubblegum hair forehead too, until that asshole realized that for them he was always a burden, a hindrance, and that they only looked for him as consolation. The bubblegum hair forehead, a face to hit when the Uchiha doesn't fight her, and the Scarecrow along with the short hick pervert of the Toads as consolation for the death of the bastard of the fourth Hokage, and when they saw that he was not equal to him they left him to his fate, and last but not least the shit sensei of the academy only approached him out of pity, and that made it completely clear that day, he said in a dark and gloomy tone, leaving the entire place in complete silence to many who were now looking at Kakashi, who simply felt somewhat uncomfortable by how they were staring at him, although now he was feeling a little bad about what happened. Naruto, well, I've finished eating. I really appreciate your invitation, but for now I'm going to relax for a while. Enko, if you want, you can stay and talk with the busybody, bossy girl with a mother complex. I have no problem with that. Without further ado, I'll leave here, he said, and then instantly disappeared from the premises. Everyone decided to leave the subject aside and continue eating, although now people couldn't stop looking at Hatake in a bad way, and among those who were talking, no one cared about his opinion in the least. With the Uzumaki Hanma, he was in one of the hot springs in his territory, and was there to relax and enjoy the peace, and he was achieving it, and he couldn't feel more relaxed with the hot water running through his muscles until he felt a presence approaching. Naruto, Shizen, what do you bring to these hot springs? I remind you that these are mixed baths and I only come to this place because there are no people, apart from leaving it private for me. What are you doing? You had a hard day, he said calmly, seeing that she was only wearing a bikini. Shizen, the truth is, Naruto-kun, it was a tough day and I knew you were here, so I wanted to be with you since it's been a while since we last talked, and I wanted to be by your side. I always feel more comfortable when we talk, she said with a smile as she hugged him. Naruto, what can I say? You are one of the few people who cares about me in this silly village. You still wanted to be with me even though I have changed, not only in appearance but in personality. I have the desire, Hanma, to test my strength with anyone who bothers me. I silence them, I hurt them in the most painful and bloodthirsty way, and I don't care what they say about me. I will show the greatness of the Hanma Uzumaki, and despite being different you are still with me. That's why you don't feel fear when you see me, he said looking at her. Shizen, it doesn't matter if you changed your attitude or appearance, I know perfectly well why you acted that way with them and I understand and support you in that, the same does Lady Tsunade. We will not separate from you, especially me, because for a long time a feeling has sprouted in me that I even fell in love with. At first I didn't want to tell you because I'm older than you, but you know that now I don't even care what the rest say. I want to be one of your fiancés. I don't mind sharing you with Enko and I know that more will come, but even so, I want to be with you, she said with a blush on her cheeks for saying it that way. Naruto, from the moment you arrived and you got flirty with me like that you became mine, don't think I don't know that you've been watching me with lust and you haven't stopped groping my ass. You know that just by putting up a barrier of silence many things will happen, he said putting the seal on the wall activating the barrier. Shizen, well I guess I deserve a punishment for being a naughty girl, right? Although you know it will be hard for you to submit me. Naruto-kun said taking off her bra, revealing her breasts, and then starting to do a lustful dance. Naruto, you've gone straight into the monster's mouth. Who would have imagined that you had such a daring and defiant side? I like that in a woman. Or rather, now you're my woman, he said then cornering her against the wall while he groped her firm ass and sucked her boobs. The rest you already know. These two had a long session of uncontrolled hex, showing the woman who had an impressive taste since she loved how the redhead penetrated her so hard and he also enjoyed it in so many ways, in which in the last one she was full of lust and love for the boy who had no mercy on her. Shizen, yes, Naruto continue. Faster give me your seed, I want to be the mother of your children. Akaya, how delicious, yes let's go, she said it in a tone of pure pleasure with a lot of lust in her voice while she enjoyed this moment, and the aforementioned ended up coming inside her and fell asleep on the boy's chest. Naruto, wow and to think that she was so perverted, I'm still surprised at how they managed to show their true wild and primitive colors that I love, he said while observing her from head to toe. QB, interesting brat, I just discovered something. It seems that your Hama blood that was mixed because you were my Jinchuriki, and the fact that when you were in your mother's womb I was there also made you acquire a type of pheromones that attract strong and sadistic women even when they don't even know they are, he said, speaking in his mind. Naruto, that explains a lot, and I guess he didn't wake up because of the seals that were in my body. Well, at the rate I'm going, I'll have a harem, something that doesn't bother me. In fact, I love it. But of course I'll never kill them, even though it's boring not having a rival worthy of my strength. I won't do the same as my grandfather Yujiro. What I will do is humiliate the trash for fun, and an idea has occurred to me. I found out that they are still in the war in Kiri against a Matsukage who is a 3-tailed Jinchuriki along with the 6-tailed Jinchuriki, he said with a dark and evil smile. Kyubi. His personality is calm like Yuichiro, sadistic like Yujiro, being his spitting image, but he still retains the love and affection of his great-grandfather Baki. It seems that this brat brought out the good side of the three and is the best Jinchuriki of all, he thought as he fell asleep. After that, when Shizen woke up, they had even more wild hecks. When they finished, they decided to walk only to meet Enko, telling her how things were going to be now, being that she didn't care much since she knew that was going to happen, but he told them both that it was going to be a training, if we can call it even, so he left some shadow clones just in case they needed something from him without knowing that he was going to do it. Was crazy for anyone who thought about it twice. Elsewhere, village of the Bloody Mist. We see how explosions were heard everywhere because it was divided because the rebels were fighting, but they were taking more and more territory, and their leader Meitorumi had too many casualties due to her large army and the fact that on her side they had 2 Jinchurikis who completely controlled their bijou. They left in a group of jounin at their side. While they advanced, they had to face a large army of more than 1,000 S-rank shinobis, being that they launched a great brutal attack, leaving all their companions completely dead, only leaving the woman alive, and she was too weak due to the constant war. She had not been able to rest, and had reached her limit. Jounin. Finally the rebellion has fallen now. The Matsukage Yugura will be very happy to deliver the corpse of the leader of the rebels who has bothered our empire so much, he said with a smile. Jounin 4, true, but you know, he told us that we should give him his corpse since he wants it as a trophy. But you know, we can have fun with her, she has a hexy enough body to waste, he said with lust in his voice. So the 1,000 jounin made the same faces, and taking advantage of the fact that she was unconscious while some were groping her, others were tearing her clothes with their katana while these were going to grape her. Until from the shadows a shadow arrived to brutally hit each of the jounin who did not expect that, and although they tried to attack him, they ended up being killed in the most brutal ways possible. Heads, legs, arms, even faces, everything was scattered in the place. It was a complete massacre. What caused the woman to open her eyes after hearing so much was to see the whole place filled with large amounts of corpses, and only to see a red-haired man who came to observe the woman and walk while she was already trying to get up, and says, "Mei, who are you?" she said, looking at the man who simply looked at her, keeping his face serious while walking away from her. But before he walked further away, he simply told her the following. Naruto, I am the pride of a clan that was once feared, the Hanma and the Uzumakis, the strongest human that exists. Remember it well, now is the time to show my greatness, he said, jumping Hulk style while heading to another place. In another part of the place we can see how his entire army was at the top, where we can see how the 4th Matsukage Yugura was next to Udakata, who were looking at the entire panorama. Udakata, Matsukage-sama, I have found the rebel base. They did not find Meitorumi, but they did find many of the Kekei Genkai holders. What should we do? He said seriously while observing him. Yugura, we must eliminate all those who remain. Then I will personally take care of Mei, and as a way to do it we must demonstrate why we Jinchurikis are so feared, he said seriously while taking out 3 tails from his body. So they went directly to where the location of the rebels and the sheltered people was, only to see how they were growing in size while they ended up completely transforming into the 3 and 6-tailed bijou. These with their great power were destroying the entire place in their path while giving a powerful roar that ended up making everyone completely scared to the max and waiting for their imminent end. Although a flash of crimson speed ended up launching a powerful blow that made the entire floor rumble, causing the bijou to lose balance from the sudden impact, they felt, only to try to see who was responsible for who caused all of that. But at that moment the whole place began to feel a presence so terrifying that even the bijou instinctively retreated from feeling that great imposing presence, only for everyone to look at a red-haired man with large muscles whose gaze was like that of the devil himself. His hair was standing up while an aura of death surrounded his entire body, accompanied by a grotesque smile. Naruto. Ha 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 ha, this is so fun. I hit the lottery with you too. I finally have my new training toys. I hope they last long enough, he said with a demonic voice while he launched himself into a fight against the two bijous to give them too many hits. Everything that the few came to see seemed to have been taken from a fairy tale, since their eyes were seeing how that man, or rather that demon, was massacring with only his brute force not one but two bijous alone, and these, despite trying to counterattack, even launched a lady bijou. He destroyed it with his fists, and massacred them without having any mercy with any of them. Being that around the massacre ended up lasting about 2 hours without stopping, where not even the bijous had strength and ended up unconscious, leaving their jinchurikis at their mercy, and they had another massacre that lasted a little less, being that this one took away their arms and legs in many ways so painful and so sadistic. When he finished with them, he looked at the army that remained, who trembled with fear of having him in front of them, only for him to smile with more sadism and start again with another massacre where their screams of pleading were heard, others to stop, but they were in vain, and they ended up murdered in horrible ways. It was a great carnage until he finally left, not without first taking the bodies of both jinchurikis. Awaken-sama, we finally found her. How happy that she is safe. We have good news. After so many years we have won the Kiri War, he said so that she could see how everyone was celebrating and helping to fix the village. But how is it possible if we were at a complete disadvantage? Even they had already surrounded me. What happened? Did an ally bring some ninjas to help us? She said with doubt while walking, observing the whole place, while someone said the following. Chojuro, that is the issue, Mei-sama. We're not children. As surprising as it may seem, a single man finished off more than 1,000 jounins in service of Yagura. As if that were not enough, he was the one who defeated them along with Utakata, both being in their bijou's forms. He massacred them completely, and then he went towards what was left of the army and finished them off. Once that happened, he left without telling us anything or even want to know who he is. The only thing that identifies him is that he was a tall, muscular man with crimson red hair, he said seriously, leaving the woman completely surprised. But when she said the part about red hair, she remembered how she woke up from an attack and that the only thing she saw was that man and the words he said to her at that moment. Just to think. So the strongest human that exists is a Hanma Uzumaki. I know his last name, but I shouldn't know who the other one is, so I can find him and thank him for saving our village, she thought while she was helping the rest of the civilians. Chapter 4. We are in the office of the current Hokage, who is Tsunade, who was reviewing some papers where she was very exhausted by all the paperwork that was piled up, being that she was but annoyed what follows because before Shizen helped her. However, since yesterday she could not find her, because when she said that she went to the hot springs and that she stayed to be able to enjoy her moments, something that angered her a little since she does not seem to have a moment to enjoy. Tsunade, I hate being the Hokage. It's always duties, besides not being able to, having to face that stupid paperwork that never stops growing. My life is increasingly full of misfortunes. Why did I accept this position in the first place? Oh, of course, because of him, she said, still remembering that smiling blonde boy. Although at that moment she remembered how despite everything he always manages to smile even in the worst moments, she truly missed him. It was her only reason to come back to Konoha. But that boy no longer exists. Or rather, just a personality that was repressing his true self, and all she can do is support this new one. Accepting him is the least she can do. Tsunade, I don't know how you did it, Grandma Mito. I still remember when I was little and you told me so many stories about Grandpa Yujiro and my great-grandfather Yuichiro. How were they able to bear or understand them? I don't know how I should understand this new Naruto, who has changed completely, and I don't know exactly how I should treat him. God, this is so confusing, she said, sighing. She simply stayed doing her paperwork for a while, and hours passed until Asuma, Shikamaru, and Kurenai appeared from the door, who were arriving ready for their next mission, so she could observe them and tell them the following. Tsunade, I'm very glad you've arrived, but what's happening? Where is Naruto? Have any of you seen him? Was he called for this mission where he is? She said, angry and doubtful about knowing about the boy's location. Shikamaru, we haven't seen him since yesterday when he left the Hokage-sama restaurant. What is true is that when we asked Anko, she said that he went to do some training, so we looked around the forest, and he wasn't there, she said, looking at her. Naruto, they were talking to me about a new mission. Okay, I'll finish this quickly, and for those who are wondering why they didn't find me in the village, it's because I left Konoha to be able to train since I saw something very interesting to train, he said calmly. Tsunade, so you went out to train, huh? Let me guess. You snuck into the war that took place in the Mist Village, you killed an entire army with blows, and you defeated the 4th Masuke Jigura along with his other Jinchuriki Utakata, right? She said, sighing tiredly. Naruto, wow, you guessed everything I did. How come you never win at bets if you're that good at guessing? Or is it that something gave me away for you to have guessed? He said, yawning while scratching his ear in a bored manner. Asuma, you don't need to be a fortune teller to know what you did, not to mention that doing all that for yourself is training, and in case you didn't realize, you have blood in your body and the bodies of the 4th Masuke and the Jinchuriki of the Rokubi on your back, he said, pointing to his back, which is like a sack of potatoes. Naruto, I had forgotten that I still had them. Anyway, I'm going to leave them with you. You should know exactly what to do with them. Whatever you do, I don't care, he said while leaving both of their bodies lying on the floor. Kurenai, how is it that you can be so shameless and reckless? Do you know how many people, upon seeing you without thinking twice, will take them by force to rob them, and you do these things? She said, angrily as she could be for the redhead, who simply said, Naruto, first of all, we were talking, the Hokage and I. As always, you are nosy. That's why you don't have a boyfriend, and that's the idea. If someone in Konoha, whoever it is, takes them away, we can unmask some traitors or infiltrators who may be there. Obviously no one would dare to do anything in my presence, he said with a smile. Tsunade, very well. The mission with which you were recently called, we learned about the possible whereabouts of Sasuke Uchiha, since rumors say that he killed Orochimaru, and just created a great team, is still in the territories of Konoha, and he knows it, so expect him to send Team 7. That is why we have them here, and we can use the surprise card that. He does not know your new appearance, said seriously. Shikamaru, I understand. It seems like a good idea, Hokage-sama. I suppose we should leave soon. Anyway, now we must cross as soon as possible, right? He said, so that everyone nodded except Naruto, who didn't care. Tsunade, one more thing, don't tell any of this to Kakashi or Sakura because they will want to come by force and I don't want any trouble. Anyway, the council doesn't know and I activate a barrier of silence. You can leave except you, Naruto. I want to talk to you, he said, so that everyone left except the aforementioned. Naruto, you don't need to say anything, I know what you're going to tell me. I've noticed your look. Do you want to know why I changed so much and you're not able to understand me now? To be honest, not even I'm able to do it honestly. I stopped thinking about it a long time ago. To begin with, you knew that idiot me must go. Since he had memory, he always looked out for the happiness of almost everyone around him. That brought him two things that will take advantage of him. They will despise him and treat him as weak, without caring that only a few did it. I did not, and that me. It was the world who did it, he said, looking at her only to feel her hug him. Tsunade, you think I don't know, and I hate all of them, from the civilians to Kakashi, that perverted toad Irika, but I miss him more than anyone. Even though you were an idiot, you were my reason for coming to Konoha. You were my everything. Without you nothing makes sense. Not even taking it had any effect on taking away this pain I feel from knowing that part of you is no longer there, she said, crying hidden in her chest. Naruto, listen, just because I don't show that part of me much doesn't mean it's not still there. It's little, true, but it still remains in me, kind, loving, always a part of me, just like the Hanma and Uzumaki genes were. That I don't show it much is one thing, but I'm still the same. I owe you an apology for that. That had a reason, and that is that I was planning this for you, he said, to take out a seal and put it on his head. The moment he did it, it gave off a very strong glow that ended up blinding the entire place until finally, when it dispersed, the same Tsunade was seen, although now she feels that she has much more strength than before, leaving her confused while he spoke again. Naruto, that seal I put on you gave you back your age. Now you are more or less Anko's age. You keep your appearance, but now you are 28 years old. That is because Konoha took away what you loved the most during the war, and you were never able to live your life. Now I give you the ability to do it. To have a future ahead of you that you can now take advantage of, he said with a small smile. His words clearly left her too surprised, so to check she undid the technique that made her have that appearance, and looked at herself extremely wide-eyed, seeing that she still had her appearance. Even now she was able to feel her youth. She was filled with so much happiness in her being. And there was so much happiness that without thinking twice she planted a kiss on his lips, and he simply let himself be carried away by the moment, where it grew more and more until he separated due to lack of air, while she said the following to him. Tsunade, well, the best thing is that you go on your mission, you are in charge of it. By the way, what do I do with the corpses? You know very well who will come to want to have it, right? She said, observing him, avoiding what happened, although the massive blush she had was noticeable. Naruto. But they don't know that the beads are sealed in scrolls that only I possess. It's a trap. If they do something, we'll get rid of the desiccated fossils or anyone who underestimates your authority, which is a law. You are the Hokage and only you command. In any case, if you have problems, my clones will protect you from the shadows, and I will also leave some to help you with the paperwork, he said calmly. Tsunade. But of course the shadow clones. With them the paperwork can be done more easily. How was it that I didn't think of it before? I feel like an idiot for something so obvious, she said, patting her head while she was half embarrassed. Naruto. If it's any consolation, not even the third Hokage thought of it, and I'm sure the previous ones. It's less ironic since your grandfather Tobirama Senju was the one who invented that technique in the first place, and hey, what happened? That kiss showed me what you felt. I saw the real you and not that woman who hides among the beds, and I love that. You know I have fiancés, but it doesn't mean that I don't love them all equally, and I can say with total sincerity that I love you and I don't care about age or what others say. I'll leave you to think and decide. You're going to think about ridiculous things like status or your insecurities, and you'll try to look for your happiness for the first time in your entire life. That will only depend on you, and when you want to look for me, you'll tell me, he said as he left the place. We see how now they were jumping very agilely towards where the location was said to be, while when they arrived everyone remained silent, and then they spoke and said the following. Asuma, we have arrived at the location. We must find a way to locate him. It has to be silent so that he does not detect us. Remember that he has the Sharingan, he said very seriously. Naruto, listen, the Hokage put me in charge of the mission. You stay away. I'm going to create shadow clones that will transform into civilians and will blend in with the people. They will start talking about information about Itachi Uchiha and also his whereabouts, he said looking at them. Kurenai, how are you so sure that your trap will capture him? As Asuma said a moment ago, he has the Sharingan, so he will be able to see if it is a lie, and we will only get him away. We need to think, she said with doubt while observing him. Shikamaru, Sasuke may be somewhat intelligent, but he lacks a great weakness, and that is his older brother. From what Naruto told me when Orochimaru spoke of him in the Chunin exams, he jumped in without thinking, and it was worse when they met again. So if we give him the exact location we can bring him into a trap, he said, so that they nodded. Time skip 30 minutes later. Suigetsu, hey, I don't understand why we don't leave the fire territory because suddenly now we are heading in a direction, he said, bored and half annoyed while they jumped. Karen, why do you think, idiot? I heard some rumors about many Konoha ninjas who were knocked out, and everyone was looking for information about the disappearance of the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, she said seriously while looking at him. Yugo, if I remember correctly, I heard about him in some small villages that we have visited. From what I understand, he is Sasuke-sama's former partner, and many say that he was murdered. What do you think? He said, observing the Uchiha. Sasuke, whether or not they managed to eliminate that dope doesn't interest me, but those Konoha ninjas were knocked out using a genjutsu, but since they are jounin, only someone who possesses the Sharingan would be capable of doing something like that, so it must be Itachi's. Now that the time is right, I'm finally going to kill him, he said seriously. They ended up arriving at a place where she felt a large amount of chakra. When she arrived, she saw Itachi Uchiha himself, who was looking at the place, and he simply said the following. Itachi, then my foolish brother has come to this place. I should have killed you when I came along with the rest of our weak clan, but it made me so sad to see you writhing like a rotten larva that it's only because of that you're alive that it's best to finish you off. Sasuke, now you will know how strong I have become, and the hatred I have kept since then. I do not want anyone to interfere, and if his partner Kisame approaches, I do not want him to interfere in this fight, he said, activating his eyes and preparing to fight. So they started a battle where they launched themselves using their Sharingan, clashing fists against each other in a taijutsu combat where they proved to be completely equal, and they made them retreat only for him to tell him the following. Sasuke, what's going on, brother? I know perfectly well that you are more powerful than that, or are you still underestimating me? Well, I'm not going to finish you off, he said while creating a Chidori when he was about to hit him. Although to his surprise it simply explodes only for him to receive a blow that sent him flying to the ground, and being that he was now looking at a redhead with great muscles who said the following. Naruto, it's true that I'm more powerful than you think, and of course I underestimate you. After all, you were foolish enough to fall into such a simple trap, he said with an arrogant smile while watching him get up. Sasuke, damn, I don't know how you managed to fool me, but it's not going to happen now. I'm very angry and I'm not going to let you live, he said, so that some marks are covering his entire body while he takes on another appearance. Naruto, seriously, using your curse seal at its maximum power, I see that you are still confident of that gifted power that you possess. Very well, I will give you that privilege. In the same way, it will not serve you for anything, he said while getting into a fighting stance. He took out his sword and went at great speed trying to throw a slash, but at the moment of almost doing it he used only his teeth to destroy the sword of the aforementioned, breaking it into thousands of pieces. Naruto, using a sword please. The bad thing about swords is that they are easy to destroy. The best weapon of a fighter is his fists. Only those who have been able to polish their strength are capable of achieving greatness, and I will show you, he said with an evil smile. In this way, the redhead launched himself against the Uchiha again, this time demonstrating the great strength he was now having. He was massacring him with blows while he was not able to defend himself due to the powerful attacks. To launch his fire at the Uchiha's face, which would momentarily blind him, he would take advantage of this and use one of his special techniques with his fire power, which left him very impressed but above all quite wounded by that great power that he demonstrated. Sasuke, what kind of fire is that? I've never heard of a fire with that color, nor of that combat style, and I was not able to copy it with my Sharingan. It must be a type of Kekkai Genkai. Whatever it is, its strength is very powerful. I came to trust its strength. I must retreat as soon as possible. I thought, trying to use a substitution, but it was not able to move. Naruto, good try, slippery rat. From the moment I pretended to be Itachi Uchiha I put a paralysis seal on you. In short, you are paralyzed from the waist down. My objective is to capture you. Why do you think your team did nothing? As soon as they saw me, my subordinates took care of them. Now I will go to claim the reward they pay on your head, he said to approach him. At the moment he was about to take it, he looked at him straight into his eyes, Sharingan, which caused it to get into his mind, even though he was in a completely dark space. So with no other option he was walking in the place that was like a dark room that seemed like he was walking for hours until he reached a part where he could see a kind of corridor where he began to feel a thirst for blood so strong and powerful. So you decided to get into his mind again. See you again, Uchiha brat. But now things are completely different in this space where you are now is my place of torture. Tell me what you want me to do with it, said a voice that he almost instantly recognized only to see nothing. Naruto, do what you want with him. After all, he was so stupid to fall into such a stupid trap. What are you saying? Team, I've been cleaning my mind for the moment when you were going to visit us. Now, Kyubi, make sure you receive him in the same way that his ancestors received you, he said with an evil smile. Kyubi, it will be a pleasure for me. Let's see how long you can endure the torture you're going to receive. It's been a while since I last chewed a human, he said with an evil voice while looking at him with his blood-red eyes. While he tried to get out of the genjutsu, it was completely useless since there was no way to free himself. Outside the Henma's mind. When the genjutsu ended you can hear how the Uchiha was screaming in pain, writhing while he touched his head in too much pain while he ended up unconscious while the redhead looked at everything and took it like a sack of potatoes and went jumping to a more distant part until he met up with the rest. Kurenai, your plan has worked out perfectly. I must say it was a brilliant idea that you used Kakashi's Sharingan to create the illusion that it was the real Itachi Uchiha. With that, he didn't suspect anything, she said seriously. Shikamaru, and as expected, during the battle, Sasuke neglected his team, which made it easy for us to capture them. We knocked out the redhead. The white-haired watercolored man was more complicated. It seems that his entire body is composed of 100% water, but I managed to paralyze him with my shadow jutsu, he said, having the aforementioned in his power. Asuma, the orange-haired one, was more complicated. It seems he lost control of a power that seems to be similar to the energy of the curse mark. It gave me problems, but thanks to one of the paralyzing seals that you gave me in case an extra enemy came, I managed to knock him out, he said calmly while looking at him. Suigetsu, hey, can you free me? The truth is that I was only following Sasuke because he promised me to have all the swords in the world. He did it when he gave me the Kubikuribocho, so once I'm free, I'll rescue the rest, he said angrily. Naruto, an easy-to-manipulate lackey, no wonder he chose you, but you should learn something about him. He is an arrogant man who believes himself to be a superior being and has the mentality that just because he is the heir of a clan, everyone should kiss his feet. But what is an Uchiha without his Sharingan? He said so that he would be confused by his question. And without a shred of mercy, he used both hands to take the unconscious Uchiha's eyes to quickly tear them out, which caused a great heart-rending scream from him who could only scream from the great pain he felt, only to see how he became unconscious again from screaming so much. Naruto, the correct answer is what they are without their eyes is nothing. Everything that makes them feared by the ninja world falls on their Sharingan. Just take them away and the Uchiha ceases to have any value. On the other hand, my clan, both the Uzumakis and the Hanma, when we lose a limb, be it an arm, leg or eyes, we evolve and become stronger, and that is why we are the most powerful clan of all. Do not forget it, he said, and later destroyed them with his hands. The rest did not say anything, so without any other option they went back to Konoha, although because they were prisoners who should not be counted even though they were there when the Anbus arrived, they took the prisoners and escorted them to their respective cells, seeing that these were far from each of them, and Naruto went to give the report to the Hokage while he arrived. Tsunade, I see that you managed to fulfill your mission perfectly. I'm glad, and it's good that you destroyed his Sharingan. Without it he won't be a threat. In the same way you were a great help in revealing the traitors, she said, remembering that moment in which a fight broke out. Flashback a few hours ago. We see how Tsunade was personally carrying, along with another Anbus, the bodies of the 4th Masuke Jigura along with the Jinchuriki of the Rokubi while they were arriving at a somewhat distant part of Konoha, being interrupted because a certain mummy appeared next to some Anbus. Danzo, Tsunade, what are you doing with the bodies of the 2 Jinchurikis? I want to know where you got them from and why you didn't talk to the council about this. You know that what you're doing is a crime, he said very seriously while looking at her. Tsunade, what you do with them should not be your problem. Their existence along with what will be done with the bodies and their respective bijus is an SSS rank secret that only trustworthy people should know, and it goes without saying that the dissected mummies along with the gossipy civilians, and this is a shinobi matter. You are just an ordinary civilian and you traitorous Anbus should only follow your leader and not obey a first-class traitor, she said seriously. Danzo, how dare you disrespect one of the elders of the council? I knew from the first moment that you are not worthy of carrying the title of Hokage. I will control you, and once that happens you will resign from your position. And since that red-haired brat is no longer useful, I will use you to make him my weapon. He said, about to uncover his eyes. Until he ends up receiving a tremendous punch directly to the face while I end up sending him backwards, destroying several trees and rocks in the process, and he stood next to her while he says, Naruto, clone, I told you the trap was going to work, and that idiot no longer has that Sharingan that gives him mental control over anyone except me, of course, since I knew he would use it on you, but now that you have no longer exists, my blow was strong enough to take it away from you, he said, showing a Sharingan and then destroying it. Needless to say, a large number of Anbus appeared who completely surrounded the redhead who, upon seeing this, simply smiled while at great speed he threw blows at each of the Anbus, all of whom served Danzo. After a few minutes of a massacre that the redhead made, you can see a mountain of corpses, all of Anbus, while he simply walked until he reached the dying Danzo who was on the verge of death. Danzo, how did you manage to beat me? I had everything planned. I never expected you to put clones around me and I wasn't able to detect it. But why is it that neither the Izanagi nor the self-destruction seal I have are useful? He said weakly while he was unable to get up and had a lot of blood on his face. Naruto, clone, you thought you could fool the Hanma? How stupid you are. We along with the Uzumakis are the masters of deception. Do you think I wasn't aware of your arm covered in Sharingan, and that it has cells of the first Hokage from the first time they called me with the council? I knew. After all, the Uzumakis are the best sensors in the world. When I knew at that moment, I put a seal that blocks your chakra every time I decide. You didn't notice because of your fear of me, and I was just waiting for you to make a move to kill the rats, he said, and then pierced his chest using only his hand, which ended up killing him. End of flashback from a few hours ago. Naruto, yes, the memories of that moment have already come back to me. Anyway, soon the announcement will be presented that the Uchiha is back and that like every renegade ninja he must be executed as the rules say, and no matter what the council tells you, you can use the corpse of that stupid mummy as a way to threaten them, anyway. He said while he was about to leave, being stopped by the Hokage. Tsunade, wait, first of all there is something I want to tell you, but it is not good for it to be here. I want to tell you something private. Let's go to my house, she said while she took it, and they were leaving and passing through the streets of Konoha until they were arriving at the Hokage's house. They went directly to the woman's room and she sat him on the bed, and she was also sitting while he looked at the blonde who had a blush on her cheeks while he said the following. Tsunade, I was thinking about what you told me before the mission. I also spoke with Shizen and Enko about this, and you're right. After the death of Dan and Iwaki, I sank too much into alcohol and gambling. I thought that with that I was happy, but it was just a mask that I ended up thinking that was the real one. Only you were the one who gave me back my smile and the joy that I had previously lost. At first I came to see you as a son, but that feeling increased so much that I see you as a man. I thought I would keep that secret to the grave. However, you gave me the opportunity to rebuild my life, and I want to do it by being one of your fiancés, she said, blushing. Naruto, I admit it, I still saw you as a mother at the time. That's because in my entire life no woman treated me well and made me feel the way you did, and you still wanted to be with me despite how I am now. I accept, and tell me, that's all you were going to tell me, since I highly doubt that you made me come to your room. You could have told me this in the living room. I'm sure you want to do this. Once this happens there will be no turning back, he said, looking at her. Tsunade, don't worry about that. My house has soundproof windows and I asked the Anbus to leave this place. Otherwise I left a shadow clone in case someone needs me. You have already done your part by telling me what you feel and giving me back the happiness that I had lost. You taught me that it is not too late to start my life over. That is why I want to show you how much I love you, Naruto. I want you to make me yours, she said while opening her cleavage a little, revealing her large breasts. Naruto, if that is your wish, which you now want to do with me, be sure that I will take it. What I must warn you is that I will not be merciful, and since you are also partly an Uzumaki, they, along with the Senju, have greater resistance, he said, then groped her tits very hard while giving her a wild kiss on the lips, causing her to let out slight moans that were drowned out by each of the kisses that attacked without any mercy. For the next few hours they had a long hex session that didn't stop at every moment. The pleasure was increasing more and more while you can see a scene where the blonde was penetrated while she was completely crazy. Tsunade, oh. Yes, my god. It feels very good, oh. With more force, yes, give me more, Naruto-kun. Oh. Give me harder, she said while she and the redhead move in a very fierce and wild way while he simply says the following. Naruto, you surprise me, you have lasted much longer. I expected nothing less from a Senju Uzumaki. If you want it harder, who am I to oppose it? I believe that you will be able to follow the strength of a Hanma, he said, to hit it even faster than before. Elsewhere. We are in Konoha prison, the place where every criminal or unauthorized ninja member of another village is found. In this place, the worst of the worst, many have escaped, others died or suffered a completely worse fate. The interesting thing about this place is that in the lowest part of the cells we can see a certain Uchiha who was locked up with a seal on his eyes used solely so that they would not see a being without eyes. He had his gaze lowered even seeing those memories were passing through his head, the battle he had that made them be captured and this one like this now, but the worst thing was thinking that his so appreciated Sharingan now he no longer has it. What was undoubtedly his great unknown was knowing how. And he talks about knowing how his former teammate, whom he considered someone inferior to him, was able to defeat him, and more with that new appearance, but all his doubts dispersed when he heard a voice. Kakashi, the truth is that I never in my life thought that we would see each other like this. I don't need to be a genius to know what happened. You trusted Naruto just like I did, and as a result you have completely lost your Sharingan, just like what happened to me. Who would say that I used my Sharingan to set a trap for you and deceive you enough to capture you? He said while leaning against the wall. Sasuke, then it's true that the one who defeated me was Naruto, and he left me completely blind, and I have lost the only thing that gave me the chance to kill Itachi. Now Kakashi-sensei, how did I manage to change so drastically? His appearance, personality, power is not the same blonde idiot that I saw last time, and it's only been about 3 months since our meeting, he said in a muffled voice. Kakashi, to summarize, the reason for his change was mine, because Yamato the Jounin, who handles the wood style and who was during the mission to bring you back to Konoha. I think you have to remember very well, the point is that when they could not bring you back, he put all the blame on Naruto for his failure in the mission and being that Jiraiya Sama, and I admitted in an idiotic and open way that we trained him badly on purpose for personal reasons, and Irika also came to say that he only approached him out of pity. What we did not know is that he came to hear everything and was filled with so much fury that he released some seals and unleashed his true chakra, and I do not mean that of the Kyuubi, but his own. Okami Inozuka revealed the truth to us. Since his birth he had the highest chakra reserves of all, and as for a baby, it was too much. They sealed them. In other words, all the time you lived, talked and fought with a Naruto who barely used 10% of his power, strength, and intelligence, he said, sighing. Such words were undoubtedly a complete bucket of water that fell on the entire body of the black-haired Uchiha, especially when he said that he was only using 10% of all his power that was sealed, and he had a sea of thoughts in his head. Sasuke, all this time I've been fighting against a Naruto who barely used a part of his power. He even came close to matching me when I was still in Konoha. I thought I had already surpassed him after our first encounter, but now I find out that it was only because he had his power sealed, and since he was a baby, I can't imagine how much power he must have right now. I thought too angrily. Kakashi, since then he showed his true personality and strength, being monstrous, since he descends from 2 feared clans, the Uzumakis and the Hanma. And before you say anything else, if the secret of his legacy was a secret SSS rank, since if separated they are capable of making the 5 ninja nations tremble together in one person, they are hell in life. His red hair is a characteristic of the Uzumakis, and the strength is of the Hanma, so much that he faced me with Guy, and for trusting me he beat me up and took away my Sharingan, and if that were not enough, he has a Kekkai Genkai, which is that purple fire, and I think you witnessed his power. Now I can say without a doubt that he is the most powerful shinobi in Konoha that not even the Hokage would be able to overcome, he said, looking at the cell. Sasuke, you have to be kidding me now. It turns out that he descends from 2 feared clans. I know that the Uzumakis were a clan from what Karen told me, but the Hanma, I have never heard anything about them, because you must always surpass me, Dobe said in whispers, now yes, too furious to find out about it. Kakashi, well, there's no point in complaining right now since you can't do anything to change the facts of what happened to you. He beat you and humiliated you, and no one can change that. Well, I'm leaving. I have some things to do. At least it was nice to see you for the last time, he said, and then left, leaving the whole place in complete silence, leaving him alone with his thoughts of the information he had just received, only for a few minutes to hear footsteps, and before he asked who it was. Naruto, Clone O Team, yes, you have become predictable. No matter how much you have grown or how strong you have become, you still have that great weakness, your brother Itachi, your only reason to live. Tell me what you thought was going to happen if you killed him, your family. Maybe he was going to revive, or already after killing him you were going to commit suicide. Also, of course, you can look for someone you come to feel hatred. Tell me, who are you going to choose? A man from a stand who did not give you free food for being an elite Uchiha, he said in a bored way while looking at him. Sasuke, stop making fun of my Dobe, just let them release me from this damn cell and I will use all my influence. Tio, make sure you pay for all of this, he screamed while he was not able to move because he still has the paralysis seal on his entire body except his face, while he simply tells him the following. Naruto, clone, ha 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 ha, very interesting. The truth, tell me, who told you that they were going to set you free, or did you think that being the last Uchiha you were going to be saved? I regret to inform you, but your clan betrayed you, because in the ancient rules of your clan, if an Uchiha loses his Sharigan in combat against an enemy, it is considered the greatest dishonor of all, and instantly he will no longer be considered an Uchiha, and your sentence has already been given. You will be executed this same day. You are worthless now, Sasuke said mockingly. Now everything in him has completely collapsed. Now he is not even considered an Uchiha. In his entire life he had always boasted about his clan, and how strong he was, and now he is not anymore. Now his pride was shattered because of his thoughts. He did not realize that he was now in his cell because of how silent he was when doing so. And without saying another word, he launched a tremendous kick directly at his private parts, which made him scream in pain, and just see how he had a lot of blood in all his private parts that were now really destroyed while he watched him. Naruto, clone, you should thank me since I saved you from some girl trying to grape you, taking advantage of the fact that you can't move like a certain pink-haired bootlicker of yours, but don't misinterpret it. I simply did this so that there are no more Uchihas in this world, and you don't have more profit that civilians can get, and now it's a matter of time before you are executed and die with the remorse of knowing that the one you thought was below you ended up being the one who ended all your hope. Goodbye, team. Say hello to your relatives in hell, he said to disappear, revealing himself to be a clone. Other side of the Akatsuki base. Pain, Zetsu, tell us what is happening. Why did you call us to this meeting that you say is very important, and it better be true, he said with a serious voice while showing the Rinnegan, while the plant on both sides said the following. Zetsu, I recently found out that the Mist Village finally won the rebellion. The surprising thing is that they received help from a muscular red-haired man. Not only did he wipe out an army, but he also took the Jinchurikis of the Sixth and Three Tails to Konoha, and being in their bijou forms, only using their strength, he said seriously. Kakuzu, so a muscular red-haired man, I've heard many rumors about him. They say he has monstrous strength, and that some have nicknamed him the Ogre for his cruelty in massacring his victims. And I see that they are not lying. If he was able to defeat 2 bijous, he alone is someone very strong, and his reward is worth a lot of money, he said thoughtfully. Haiden, oh, here you go again with your money, you are greedy Kakuzu. Honestly, I am not interested, and I doubt very much that he is as strong as they say. Anyway, even I could kill him. It would be a great sacrifice for me, God said, selflessly as much as he could. Kisame, returning to the topic, I'm very surprised. It was amazing that he was able to defeat Yagura and Yudakata in his bijou mode. I admit that even I would have problems, and perhaps I wouldn't have come out of that alive. You say he's from Konoha. Perhaps he was hired and delivered the bodies or something like that, he said, looking at him. Zetsu, at first I thought he was a mercenary without a village, but now I confirm that he serves Konoha in quotes, since he seems to do what he wants when he wants and nobody says anything to him. Their bodies are now sealed in a seal so powerful that nobody is able to break. Another news, he captured your brother Itachi. Not only did he take out his eyes and destroy them, in fact, at this moment they are going to execute him, he said with a smile. Deidara, what a destiny. That brat ended up being defeated and they took away from him what makes them so special. That man is already liking me a lot, ha 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 ha, he said with a smile, while laughing a little while someone spoke to say. Conan, someone with his abilities, both his strength and intelligence and personality are quite interesting. Pain, I think he would be a good recruit to join us. He is a force that must be in our hands, because if not, he is a threat, she said seriously while looking at him. Pain, I know that without a doubt. Conan, now I have a task for you. Kakuzu, Haiden, after you go for the Jinchuriki of the 2 Tails, I know well that you want to go to the Fire Temple for the reward I know that Konoha will send him. When that happens, try to convince him, he said seriously. Itachi, oh brother, it makes me sad that you ended up like this. Moving on to something else, I still haven't found information about the whereabouts of the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki, or the Kyuubi himself after that chakra explosion that we felt, so there are only explanations. Either they both died in that explosion, or he is still alive and deserted Konoha, he said seriously. Pain, I know very well that he is hiding. It is useless for him to pass since we will find him soon. Until then, continue collecting information. The little that they come to know will be a clue to know his whereabouts, he said seriously. Chapter 5. It's been about 4 weeks since the execution of Sasuke, who was no longer an official Uchiha, which is considered by his clan as the most humiliating death in all of history. Of course, the pink-haired girl went on strike to stop them from doing it, gathering many of the civilians. Among them were Hamura and Koharu. But all that went away when they saw that he had neither Sharingan nor what makes him a man, causing 99% of all those who supported him to leave since they cannot profit from helping him. Only Sakura remained, who had the guts to sacrifice herself when they were going to execute him. But even he hit her to end this, since for Sasuke it was more humiliating to live because a girl saved him, and without further ado he ended up dying, and he lost his mind at the moment that happened. Many things were changing among them. The Uchiha complex being this one, which was a very large space, and that there was no point in having it because there wasn't even one in Konoha anymore. All those buildings, including the clan leaders, ended up being demolished since the last one who had permission to do so with those territories was Sasuke, and after his expulsion from the clan before his death they ended up being for sale, and Naruto immediately bought them using only the money he earned from his S-class missions, and with it he erased everything that was left of his clan, including the Uchiha books. Nothing was left at the end of that event now, not even a position exists, and all the money in his bank account was given to Konoha. Team Taka being that when they found out about Sasuke's execution, none of them knew what to do with their lives. However, Naruto was able to help them due to his great potential, starting with Yugo, who at first did not accept everything, changed when the redhead gave him a seal that controlled his power and that he would never lose control. Explaining that the reason for this was that with it he did not send as much senjutsu to his head, even though he had his wild side, but in a more controlled way, and this was helping him accept that nature and control it well, obtaining his loyalty. Sojutsu was not as complicated as one would think since he was a fanatic of swords and he loved fights. He managed to get along well with Naruto due to his nature of wanting a fight, and the fact of being a water man that gives him regeneration and intangibility made him very interesting. Only that his fighting style was regrettable, and he taught him that he should not always depend on the sword and had to give him great torture. I mean training that made him wish for his death just thinking about it, although he began to take the attitude of showing his strength. Karen, on the other hand, was stubborn, discovering that they were Sasuke's fangirl, which was somewhat funny since she looked somewhat like Sakura, but her red hair made him understand that she was an Uzumaki, and he confirmed it when he told her to take off her clothes. At first he thought she was a pervert, but when he noticed that she had only one emotion with his words, he could see how the girl had bite marks scattered all over her body. He approached her, and for a moment she thought he was going to grape her or hurt her. But to her surprise, he was giving her a type of massage that was erasing each and every one of those marks that she had on every part of her body until it ended. Without hesitation, she hugged him tightly, crying and releasing all the pain until she told him that she was part of his family, and that she would never be alone again. Now she had more reason, and she was Hanma's little sister, and he revealed to her that she had the same ability, but to avoid leaving marks she must make her muscles more resistant, and since then he has been training her. Another thing that also happened was the announcement that the 5th Hokage was the redhead's fiancé. Being that first a certain Sannin of the Toads told him how could he think that if he was older, but he shut his mouth when he told him that he was young again, which made the redhead not care. But he shut him up with a blow to the face, and he left without realizing that it was a blow to his pride that he managed to conquer Tsunade so quickly, and he tried for so many years and never succeeded. What undoubtedly hit Konoha quite hard was the fact that the fire temple was attacked by 2 Akatsukis who took the body of a member of the Shinobi Guardians, this being Chiriku. Because of that, Asuma along with Shikamaru, Isumo and Kotetsu went to look for them. The idea was only to rescue him, but it was not achieved. They had to face them. Now being known as Kakuzu and Haiden, the two being immortal. Because of that, they lasted a battle in which unfortunately ended with the life of Asuma Sarutobi. Since then Shikamaru blamed himself a lot for his death and could not sleep. Ino and Chuji had that feeling as well, since they were his sensei, and all those who were with him felt it, as well as Konohamaru, who cried for the death of his uncle. So everyone had their own internal struggle for the moments they were going through at that time. Although of course some did not show it and simply focused on other more important things, or so it seemed to be understood. Present. We see our protagonist, who was immediately arriving at his home, this being the Uzumaki Hanma complex. He had finished carrying out an SS class mission where we can see how he was stretching as usual, taking off his clothes, only wearing underwear while smoking a cigarette while he was immersed in his thoughts until he detects a familiar presence in his home. Naruto, now what do you want, shit toad? Don't you see that I'm relaxing now and I don't feel like beating you up? Tell me what you want now before you lose a limb from your body, he said seriously while the aforementioned appears. Jiraiya, I'm sorry, I was just passing by looking for inspiration for your research, you know, but tell me, boy, be honest, how do you manage to have so many girls? Share your secret with me, he said in a perverted tone. Naruto, don't talk to me like you're equal trash. I am superior to you both in strength and masculinity, and the answer is basically to be the opposite of you the moment you stop being a pervert who masturbates while writing cheap porn and leave that idiotic mentality. Everything you are looking for will come on its own, as simple as that, said Bored. Jiraiya, oh, why do I have to change? Women should be happy that the handsome Sannin of the Toads is looking at them. Why do you act that way with me? Anyway, I think I'm bothering you, so I'm leaving. At least let me use your bathroom, he said, about to leave somewhere else, when the redhead appeared and put his hand in his hair. Naruto, you think I don't know? You want to know the code that gives access to my bank accounts, since now I am the richest man in Konoha. You want to take advantage of it to get the life you always dreamed of in your sick dreams. Understand, nothing in this life is free. To get it you need strength, and since you have been bothering me every day, I am going to give you a gift. Consider it a way to pay off my debt from the time you threw me into that cliff with thorns. As you said yourself, it is for your own good, he said with a smile. The fear of the white-haired man provoked him. Before he could even escape, the redhead used his strength to crush the toad with his hand until he ended up completely bent over, his entire body, and was unable to move at all, while a great pain was felt throughout his being. He took it loaded as if it were a wooden stick and then bent it again and threw it towards the trash can while he returned, being that when he entered he found his 3 fiancées now being his girlfriends, who also arrived, and each of them greeted him with a kiss on the lips. Tsunade, so that idiot toad came back into our home. How annoying it is. The good thing was that you left it in its place as it should be. Tell me how your mission went. Were there any things you want to tell us about? She said while everyone was on the couch, all glued to the boy. Naruto, it was not a problem. They told me it was an army of S-class ninjas. I only had to use my fists to massacre them. There was nothing interesting. I could have returned earlier, but I had to teach a lesson to the one who hired us since he did not want to give us the agreed money, and we reached an agreement, and I even convinced him to give us double. Another thing was that I met someone I captured. I will give you details of that later. By the way, how are you? There has been an improvement, Shikamaru said, mentioning the subject. Shizen, he still hasn't improved since Asuma's death. He was locked up in the Nara complex, and then he went to the forest, and no one has heard from him since then. It seems like he's gotten into a hole that will be hard for him to get out of. In fact, I wanted to talk to you. Maybe if you talk to him about the issue you can make him improve, she said, looking at him. Enko, and since we're on the subject, I wanted to mention that she's not the only one who's suffered because of it. Since we found out Kurenai died, she's been depressed, and I honestly don't know how to help her. Besides, she told me that she got pregnant with Asuma's child, and because of that she'll stop being a shinobi for a while, so she'll need food. Do you think it's bad? It's good that she stays to live. Of course, if you want, she said somewhat nervously. Naruto, you don't have to tell me, the two of you. I don't blame Shikamaru for acting that way, since I know very well that it's his first time seeing a loved one die, so I will help him. As for what you told me, Enko can stay, but I'm doing it for the creature of her being. It's useful that I speak with her team so that they can take turns taking care of her. I will speak with them in the afternoon. For now, we are going to rest, he said so that everyone could snuggle up against his chest. He stayed with them like this for a while until he went to the hot springs, where they also accompanied him to have a moment of tranquility and hex. Being that he used his highly resistant shadow clones, he managed to catch them, and they enjoyed the time until the afternoon came and everyone went to do their activities. We see in a remote part of the forest a certain Nara who was looking at the river. He was so lost in it that he didn't realize that someone stood next to him, and this was none other than the redhead who was also watching him. They were able to remain silent for a while until someone cut him off. Shikamaru, Naruto, I didn't know you had already returned to the village. I'm very pleased. Tell me, would you like to come to where I am? Did my mom or my father send you to look for me? Because if so, tell them I won't come back, he said, still looking at the lake. Naruto, none of that. The truth is sometimes it's nice to observe nature. It teaches you many things. An example of this is this lake. It's the living image of how life is. It changes direction all the time. No matter how many times you see it, it's always changing speed. It changes the side it goes to, and we are all those fish that swim in it, and not because they travel through the same lake. The fish knows what its destiny will be. Life is unpredictable, but everything has an end, just like Asuma's life, he said calmly. Shikamaru, if you came to give me advice about life and what I should do, no thanks. Now I'm not up for that kind of thing. No matter what happens or what I do, he's dead and it was my fault. I'm sure that both Chuji and Ino hate me, he said, speaking in a halting manner. Naruto, until when will you stop that immature attitude about what happened? If you want to assume it that way, it's fine, although it makes me feel sorry for someone with a future ahead of them and who is now going to leave everything because of an absurd depression, he said yawning, which made him angry while saying, Shikamaru, you don't know what it feels like to be responsible for the death of a loved one and the impotence of seeing him die and not being able to do anything about it, she shouted now, getting angry and shedding many tears in her eyes while she sees him. Naruto, in fact, Shikamaru, you should know that I understand it better than anyone. You know, when I found out about my mother's death, it was devastating to know that she gave her life to save me. Many times I felt that maybe if I hadn't been born, she would be alive. But I put all those stupid thoughts aside, and every day I put the honor of my clan at the highest level, he said while stretching his fists. His words made him open his eyes wide. He was already aware of who the redhead's parents were, but he never thought that the redhead would feel that way, and that only made him reflect a little while the redhead watched him, so he spoke again. Naruto, you know that both Chuji and Ino along with Kurenai and the rest of Konoha do not blame you for what happened, but that is not what worries you, right? You blame yourself for Asuma's death, but he is no longer here to forgive you and you have to live with that. If you are able to do it, get up, look me in the eyes and tell me what you want to do, he said to get up and walk until he feels how he stops him and says, Shikamaru, I know what I want. I wish to be a great shinobi, to be proud to bear the surname of the Nara clan and become a born leader, he said with great determination in his eyes, which made him have a small smile. Naruto, in that case, accept the pain and fight again just as Asuma would have wanted you to do. Come, let's train. A good way to eliminate all that negativity is with the effort of training, he said so that he would end up following it. During the whole time they spent training their bodies, which managed to help since she felt like all that negativity was controlling her, and in a fight she managed to hit him using a very good strategy. With his help now he was better than before, and both returned to Konoha where he went first to see his parents apologizing for having left so suddenly since they understood why it happened and were glad that he felt better. But now we see how in a room there was a woman with blue hair wearing black clothes with red clouds while she was waking up little by little until she heard a voice that said the following. Naruto, so you finally woke up. You sleep a lot, woman anyway. I hope you slept enough. I imagine you're hungry. Here I brought you something, he said, offering her a plate of food while she said the following. Conan, what do you intend to do with this after I have located you so that you would join our organization and we had a confrontation? I underestimated your strength and as a result you easily beat me and left me knocked out. Why did you bring me here? She said seriously while looking at him. Naruto, you thought you were the only one analyzing and identifying the intentions of an adversary. When you mentioned the part about bringing peace, I didn't see a selfish motive. In fact, I didn't see a single reason. Now tell me why you joined this organization. Calm down, you can move, he said calmly while eating. Conan, simply to bring peace to this world with our goal that Madara himself gave us, which is to put everyone in the infinite Tsukuyami where everyone will be in their best dreams and there can be peace in this world where there will be no evil, he said with certainty. Naruto, seriously, just because that fake Madara told them you do it, I find it stupid. Tell me something, what is the use of having peace if there is no evil in the world? That makes it lose its meaning. After all, if Yin did not exist, Yang would be useless. One cannot exist without the other, it is part of life, in case it happens. The person lives everything well and there is no evil. Over time they would begin to get bored to the point of being fed up, which would be convenient for mental torture where they would like to die but they cannot, so the infinite Tsukuyami would bring more evil than good, or in the event that one of them is released. They will feel all their imbalance, and their bodies would be so weak that they would suffer much more, he said, eating his piece of pasta. These words greatly surprised the woman, who now began to think that she could not deny the logic of the redhead since every word he said was true, and she began to question if that would really happen. Then the technique would be of no use, although she was intrigued by something he said the following. Conan, wait, are you fake Madara? Do you mean that the guy who found us isn't the real one? How can you be so sure of it if you haven't even seen him to say it? He said, looking at the redhead while looking into his eyes. Naruto, the QB told me, he showed me in my mind how he was, and he himself came to meet him in person and says that they are the same, since that masked man is the same one who controlled his mind and who attacked Konoha just when I was born, and they sealed him inside me, he said while drinking some water. Conan, it can't be then you are Naruto Uzumaki, but what happened to you? How did you manage to change so much? If I remember that day Dara told us how you look the same. Itachi and Kisame, you don't look alike at all. You were blonde with fox marks on your cheeks, she said, surprised. Naruto, let's say this is my true self and the one your Akatsuki partner faced, barely using a small part of his strength and power. Returning to the topic of the supposed Madara, to summarize, Conan, you joined Akatsuki for that false Madara, and let me guess, the same did your partner Nagato, the one who possesses the Rinnegan, said, yawning. Conan, how do you know my name, and how do you know that Nagato and her Rinnegan have so many? It's impossible for you to know who told you, she said angrily, although with some doubt about knowing how he had that knowledge of it while she sees it. Naruto, a long time ago the imbecile of the toads told me the story of you and showed me a photo. You are identical. When I saw you I knew immediately that this Nagato was also united, and on top of everything he is an Uzumaki. It is disgusting that he is. He puts us to shame, acting like an arrogant Uchiha and believing himself to be a god because of his eyes. What an idiot, he said, chewing his meat with some anger. Conan, but now that I do, Nagato wouldn't listen to me at this point. Since Yahiko's death I thought that with that plan we would achieve the peace that I long for so much. If he saw us he would be disappointed in us, she said with her head down, while she feels someone hug her. Naruto, nothing can be done about him. I know that sooner or later he will come to Konoha and I will face him, and I will kill him. What you can do is see for the first time what it is that you want, even if you are selfish with him. Your happiness is more important than that of others. He never cared about how you felt about Yahiko's death, or never asked you if you were happy and if you agreed to this. So it is not worth being on the side of someone who does not even care about you. I offer you the opportunity to be happy and choose your own path. Here, in fact, we are in a part of my home. You can stay, you will not need anything, he said calmly while he sees her. His words were certainly too warm for her, who was now having a feeling that had died since the loss of Yahiko. It was warmth and happiness in her being that, without realizing it, she snuggled up in the redhead's chest while she shed some tears in her eyes while he let her get out all the pain that he was aware that he had, until when he finished he looked at her. Naruto, listen, take these clothes and change. If someone sees you with your black cloak with red clouds, they will attack you without thinking twice and will alert the people. There is a bathroom here for you to do. Once you get dressed, you will stay in this part of the house. You will not need anything. There is a bed here. I will teach you how to cook, and every week I will bring you food and spend time with you. I will also bring my girlfriends so you can meet them and make friends. Anyway, I'm leaving, I have some things to do, he said to get up and was about to leave. Until she stops him and gives him a kiss on the cheek while she had a blush on her cheeks, and without saying a single word she ran directly to the bathroom to change, which was worth a small smile, while walking back to her home. The days flew by as Conan slowly got along with Anko, Shizen and Tsunade, and the latter came to recognize her, so she had to tell them the story and left them information about the members of each Akatsuki. Outside of that they had their time among friends. Of course, this was not a ninja, just a villager, but for the first time she was showing great joy that she herself thought she had lost, and that only Naruto managed to return it to her. During that time the redhead dedicated himself to training Shikamaru in many techniques for their great confrontation, so he came to know that the entire Team 10 is looking to find the immortal duo, That is why he dedicated himself to training him to plan the strategy, and thanks to the information that Conan provided them, it gave them a good security of knowing where they are to kill them once and for all, since they went to look for them only being Team 10 with Naruto who accompanied them. Already arriving at the borders with the help of Ano, and using her mind control jutsu using a bird, she used it to locate them, and they were arriving until they finally ran into them in front of them, while they were looking at them for a moment, while someone says the following. Hayden, well, look who we have here, it's you again, brat, what's wrong with you? Don't tell me you've come to get revenge on that fool. Shinobi should feel grateful that he became a sacrifice for my god, he said with a smile. Shikamaru, nice try, but none of your insults will work. My biggest mistake I made the first time we faced each other was that I got carried away by each of your words and that distracted me, but now I'm going to keep a cool head about everything. The same goes for my teammates, he said seriously while Chuji and Ino nod their heads. Kakuzu, I know you. You are the one who overthrew all of Kiri and was able to defeat 2 Bijus using only brute force, and because of your cruelty when killing, that you even tear off body parts and stack them, they have nicknamed you the Ogre, and the one Conan went to look for to recruit you. The fact that you are still with them means that you killed her or possibly kidnapped her to steal information, he said seriously. Naruto, so this is the immortal duo, interesting. I heard from Shikamaru that you are immortal, that even if your head is cut off you still live. Fascinating. You know, I'm in a very good mood now, so what do you think if I show you a technique that is really worth seeing? He said as he stood in front of them, and they came to see him with confusion. To then raise his hands, and they waited for a movement of what he could do, only to see how this now had the shape of a sphere, something that left completely confused all those present who witnessed this, while someone said, Hayden, what blasphemy is this? How do you think something as pathetic as that was going to be impressive? Now I'm going to use you as a sacrifice for my god, he said while launching himself at great speed using his scythe to try to hit him. Although to his surprise the moment he touched the scythe it bounced off without even making any impact, and the weapon was sent flying against the ground, while everything was seen by the other Akatsuki who was analyzing what the man was doing. Kakuzu, I don't understand how he managed to compress himself like that to form that sphere that is now in front of my eyes. Not even the best shinobis like the first Hokage could achieve something similar. For that you must flex your muscles in a very inhuman way. It's as if it were a type of armadillo. It's a defense that I have never seen in my life. It seems that every blow that is thrown at him, he will deflect that incoming force using his own strength from within. Amazing, he thought while observing the boy. Naruto, what's happening? You seem surprised, gentlemen. From what I can see, you Kakuzu are someone quite strong. On the other hand, your partner surprises me that he is a renegade ninja. From what I see, his level is barely at that of an average chunin. If it weren't for his immortality you would be nothing but garbage, he said, even being in his position. Hayden, damn, how dare you! I'm going to use you as my sacrifice, he said, trying to launch himself against the being that was not able to move because he looked forward only to see the Nara using his shadow technique, while saying the following. Shikamaru, one of your greatest weaknesses is that you focus so much on your objective that you completely forget everything around you, something that as a shinobi you should not protect yourself from. So you are going with us, and we will leave your friend to talk to our captain, he said while using him to walk to where he wants to go. Hayden, Kakuzu, don't just stand there like you're stupid, come and help me so I can give these brats ass sacrifices to my god, he shouted, too furious to see how the mentioned one remained silent without saying a single word until he answers him. Kakuzu, I'm fed up with always having to save your skin because you're not capable of thinking before acting. Besides, I want to collect the reward from this guy, and it's not like anything would happen to you because after all you're immortal. No, he said, bored while watching him leave the place. Naruto, I see that your relationship is quite curious. I suppose that you are only his partner for the same reason that he is immortal. Now tell me how you plan to avoid my defense. Are you going to launch some kind of ninjutsu? He said calmly as he approached. Kakuzu, that would be of no use since you repel both taijutsu and ninjutsu, and being in that form not even genjutsu would work against you, and it would have to be one carefully concentrated, which would take a lot of time and which you would take advantage. But now I see something. Despite the fact that it provides you with great defense, you are unpunished if someone attacks you, and I am going to use something to end your defense, he said while his hand is surrounded by chakra and shields his arm. But at the moment of wanting to hit him, He took it, and immediately opened it as if it were the mouth of a monster to end up devouring him, and after a few minutes spit him out so that he was completely hurt to the point of being immobilized throughout his body. Kakuzu, what was that? I feel like I've been devoured by a whole monster. Not only that, I felt like I was in the intestine of one, and it was crushing every part of my body. I can barely move a little. Not only that, it somehow destroyed one of my 5 hearts. I got carried away thinking that it was only a defense when its appearance made the enemy see it, and then surprise him with a fierce attack, I thought weakly. Naruto, I thought you were going to be a challenge, but I see that all the Akatsuki have a great weakness. They depend on their ninjutsu as well as dojutsu, and their Kekkei Genkai that not one has ever decided to train even a little strength. Something very disappointing. Until now I have only met one warrior in fights who is worthy of earning my respect. As for you, it is pathetic using only one ability with strength, and you are already finished. If I used my Kekkei Genkai it would be so easy to kill you. I still want to hear you suffer, and I won't let you move. Don't worry, you still have 4 hearts, so we can have a good time, don't you think? He said with a dark and evil smile. And without saying anything else, he was stepping on him with all his strength continuously, while with each impact he screamed more and more in pain, while the redhead was having so much fun jumping so much that they lasted a long time and ended at the moment when he stopped hearing screams of pain and sounds of bones breaking. When he got off of him, he could notice that he was completely dead. Naruto, how bad, and I thought I was going to have more resistance, but it was fun to use it as a trampoline. It was the best one I've ever gotten on. You broke a record since the other ones I tried didn't even last 5 minutes, and you surpassed it. You reached 20 minutes anyway. Now I'll take your body as my trophy, he said to take out a scroll to then save it while he waited for a while. With Shikamaru, Ino and Shuji minutes before. We see how they were arriving next to the Akatsuki, walking while they arrived at a large part of the forest where they stayed for a while in silence until someone spoke, and that was none other than the Akatsuki himself. Hayden, oh, finally, we've walked a lot. Tell me what you're looking for by doing that. Didn't you understand our last encounter, brat? You won't achieve anything. Nothing exists that can kill me, much less having a fat man and an ugly woman as allies, he said mockingly. Shikamaru, you only know how to speak if you think that with your words you will affect my team so that they commit a reckless act which will lead me to release you. Well, you are wrong. If that were to happen, we must first gather all the information possible. Ino, Jutsu, body and mind switch, Shintenshin no Jutsu, said while making a pose in her hands while he stood still for a while, and so did she while it lasted around a few minutes until she simply undid the jutsu and someone spoke. Shikamaru, I see that you were able to see his mind. Tell me what information you managed to collect. Is there something in his head that could be of use to us, he said, looking at the aforementioned who analyzed everything she saw until she spoke to him to tell him the following. Ino, yes, it was barely something. But each Akatsuki has a ring that allows them to communicate with each other. With it, they can hold their meetings and use the bijou extraction technique. In the same way, I could see how he made the pact with that god Jashin, that in exchange for giving him immortality, he would give him sacrifices, but it seems that he does it out of necessity. If he doesn't give him sacrifices, he will take away his immortality. I really don't understand what you gain from that. It seems that he doesn't care about you at all, she said seriously while looking at him. Hayden, damn, how dare you! Out of all of them, Jashin-sama is the one who appreciates me the most because it was only me who gave me immortality while the rest were killed by him. He named me his executioner and priest, and I have taken each one of those people who should be grateful that I killed them along with that stupid shinobi guardians. That bald piece of shit, and that stupid son of a hitch. He was interrupted because he is taken by a gigantic hand. Shuji, although I must remain calm, you can insult me for many things, but I will not let you insult Asuma-sensei. He was a great man until the end, and instead you are nothing more than garbage that does not deserve to live, and this blow is for my teacher. He said to raise him to the sky and make him fall directly to the ground with a punch which ended up leaving him completely hurt. When he was about to get up, the Nara made some poses so that with a quick movement the Akatsuki would end up completely cut into pieces, dividing each part of his body, including his head, but even so, he spoke to tell him the following. Hayden, I haven't told you many times, stupid brat, even if you have new abilities I will survive, even if my whole body is completely broken, even if my whole body is separated in several parts, one will still be alive, and I will do everything possible to kill you all no matter how long it takes me, he said with blood on his head and still broken smile at him like a man. Shikamaru, I know that you can't die. However, you're not going to leave. You're in fact in a tomb that we prepared for you, and where you're going to stay contains a seal created by my master. Once it's ready you'll never be able to leave, and there's no way to free yourself. All those you killed since you were children, babies, and the elderly will finally be avenged, he said seriously while smoking. Hiden. And oh, this can't be happening to me, you bucking moth, you bucky rs, I'm not going to let myself die, did you hear me? Even if this bucking seal has it, I will free myself, you son of a bucking moth, you buck what they are. But he was interrupted by something. He was interrupted by some rubble that ended up crushing him, and the person responsible was Chuji, who did it using his expanded hands while saying, Chuji, God, good thing he shut up, he's such a talker, he never shuts up, I don't know why. He reminded me a lot of Sakura when we were at the academy. By the way, did you take his ring? He said, looking at the girl who showed it to him while saying, I took it when he was distracted in giving his speech. I took out his hand that had the ring. As for the other thing, yes, it also reminded me of that marquee front, and to think that she was previously the Rookie of the Year. Anyway, the good thing was that we finished, and we came to Asuma-sensei, he said with a smile. Shikamaru, we couldn't have done it alone. Naruto was the one who helped me become a better person, and now I feel proud of him. We owe him a lot. Now let's go, we have to go back for sure. He's finished defeating that Akatsuki, he said so that they nodded, and without realizing it, a shadow saw them. Asuma's spirit, I am very glad that you have been able to mature, my dear students. I am very sorry that I cannot spend more time with you, Naruto. I entrust them to you. I know that you will be able to guide them with wisdom, and I also ask that you guide my daughter towards a new future as well, he said to disappear from the place. Chapter 6. After the death of the two members of Akatsuki, being Kakuzu and Hiden, Akatsuki did not like very much to lose so soon to four of its members. These were somewhat angry, but the leader of the Akatsuki, being that this, seeing how things are going, this ended up talking to them, talking about the subject of how Sasori, Konan, Hiden and Kakuzu perished in battle at the hands of Konoha, so he made a great decision, and that is that he himself will go to look for the Nine Tails, the same being that they have not had news of Uzumaki Naruto, so they believe that it must be hidden, but that will not prevent it from destroying Konoha. In Konoha, after Team 8 took revenge on the person who killed their sensei, they managed to make good progress in absolutely many things. Shikamaru, despite saying that everything is a nuisance, and other things, has managed to advance in strength and attack. The same thing happened now with Ino, who now behaved like a true kunoichi maid, and right now, having as a goal to be able to live up to her clan. The same thing happened with Chuji, who managed to become muscular. Is correct, the fat man managed to have a good physique that is neither fat nor thin, managed to balance it in a way that he can use the power of the butterfly in a better way. With all that rigorous training, there were several changes between them. They were Rock Lee and Guy. That's what happened that for many worlds or multiverses would be impossible, and that is that both left their childish attitude. The flames of youth were still in their being, but now it had changed completely. It was no longer that they did ridiculous things or harassed anyone who gave them a fight. Not all of that had changed for something much better, and now whenever they came to say that they had a serious face whenever they did something related to their training, they said phrases referring to their training. Or in the cases where the flames of youth were said with a serious look that reflected two new warriors made, and better yet, warriors willing to give their lives for the idea. They even invented their own belief that with hard effort they can achieve anything and come to surpass the best. That motivated children a lot, who before seen as clowns, now all civilians see them as great examples to follow. Even with the help of some of Naruto's resources, they opened a small dojo where children from 8 years old can go and receive training from all of them. Of course, they came to run after children who only sought to show off, those who were arrogant, those who bothered children in the academy, among others. Even though they were few, the training was bearing fruit, and that brought out new shinobis ready to face future wars that may come closer, since all of that was well seen by everyone. The village now showed that it was a military village of which its former predecessors would be proud beyond belief to observe all that change that occurred thanks to the good influence that Naruto was giving to the whole place. Speaking of him, After giving Conan a home, for the first time in a long time she was truly smiling. It had been a long time since she felt that way since Yahiko's death, added to the fact that the supposed Madara was manipulating Nagato. She wanted to be with him until the end because she thought that with that they would obtain peace in some way. She knew that that was not the way to achieve it. Even so, deep down she knew that that was not the right way to do it, and it was when she was with Naruto that she realized the truth. Doing that is just an illusion, that was not going to change anything that happened. Even if she got to see Yahiko, that wasn't the real one, it never would be, it would only be a false illusion created based on the memories they have with him. But what undoubtedly confirmed everything is that if they had his body, why didn't they revive him? She told him about the powers that the Rinnegan had, that includes the Rinnegan Tensei, which can revive people while you still have the corpse, and they used Yahiko's corpse as a way to commemorate him, but it was fake, and it would never have occurred to Nagato to revive him for the simple fact that if he were alive, when he saw them, he would be disappointed with how they transformed the organization they forged together into this. Current news: streets of Konoha. We see how in a very large restaurant some people were gathered. These were Kurenai, Yugao, Gai, Okami, Tsum, Shikaku, Choza, Inoichi and Hayashi, being that these were gathered since these have become very good friends and met to be able to talk while someone speaks to say the following. Shikaku, I'm still saying how surprised I am, and I'm hard to surprise with how much Konoha has changed in such a short time, starting with you, Guy. Thanks to you have motivated many civilians who don't have chakra to get involved. You have given them hope of becoming great shinobis. When I saw your dojo the first time I was speechless. Your students, if they put their minds to it, can be high-level chunin, he said, looking at him. Guy, I appreciate your compliments, Shikaku-san, but I can't take credit for all of that. I only gave wings to these future shinobis of Konoha to be able to have the strength to show that they are not losers, and they must be firm in their beliefs no matter what others say, because as long as their flames of youth continue to burn, we can all achieve every goal we commit to, not to mention that I couldn't do it alone. It was Naruto who helped him more than anything, the one I want to surpass, and I consider him an example to follow, he said seriously. Inoichi, I must admit, I wasn't sure about her change in appearance and attitude, but so far things have gone well. In reality, I managed to completely remove that side of fanaticism that my daughter still had in her being, and now she is more than committed to being a shinobi to better honor our clan, something that I, as a father, often tried to show her, but she never listened to me, and I owe a lot to Naruto-sama for helping my daughter see her mistakes, and that now she is a better person, he said calmly. Choza, I think the same. Never in my life did I see Chuji eat slowly. In our clan we are known for being first-class eaters, and when he told me why he now eats slowly, he even made me value food much more than before. I didn't do the same. My wife and the rest of my clan now have a new perspective of everything that is around us. Even now he has improved each and every one of our techniques. He has surpassed us, and I couldn't feel more proud of him, he said smiling. Okami, the boy is someone who has the power to change people. Look at my son. Now more than ever, he is becoming a full-fledged alpha. He has put aside that arrogance of believing himself to be an alpha and now considers that an alpha is not someone who boasts or has the courage to say it, but someone who is capable of protecting his pack from future threats in the world and who will always be by the side of his companion, who is more than that, like a battle brother. Those last words I heard from him almost made me cry with pride, he said with a small smile. Hayashi, he already has that power, which is more than a gift that allows him to be in the shoes of others. I owe him a lot for helping me reconcile with Niji during the Chunin exams, although the issue of Hinata still worries me a little since her secret boyfriend told her to her face that he doesn't like her. She has changed, and not in the way that I would like. She has been a little distant, and although she doesn't show it, she is sad, but it is a weakness that unfortunately I should have done what Naruto did a long time ago, maybe. And maybe if I had done it, she would have overcome it, she said sighing. Tsum, as a mother we cannot help but worry about her children. However, in this case, even if it is hard for you to accept it, Hinata must overcome it on her own, since she must understand that even if she had tried to make Naruto fall in love with him until before his seals were released, she only likes him for once that he saved her. That is not love, since she does not even know anything about him. Nor did she try to get close to him when they were children. She was only his fangirl, Worse, they still tried to get his attention. She only harassed her, or so she told me, Kiba said thoughtfully. Yugao. I agree. He told me his reasons, and to a certain extent I don't blame him. I can't imagine how he had to live with her spying on him with her Byakugan all the time, apart from the fact that she wasn't able to say 2 words without fainting. But if he tried to talk to her or even get an inch closer, she would end up fainting. If she acted like that, I don't want to think about what it would have been like if they were boyfriend and girlfriend. Maybe he would die of a heart attack when he kissed her. Leaving that aside, Kurenai, how have you felt about your pregnancy? He said, looking at her. Kurenai, I've been doing great. More than anything, Shikamaru and my team have been taking care of me with the baby issue when I get cravings or when I have my hormonal changes. The morning sickness Naruto gave me that prevents me from getting it. I should thank him, even though I was very rude to him from the beginning in the Chunin exam when he fought against Kiba. Now that he changed his appearance and goes out with Enko with the others, I had the mind that he was a damn degenerate who sees women as trophies. How far from reality was he gives attention to them all, always takes care of them, attentive to them, never leaves them aside in anything. Even with Conan, he never abandons them. Even when he goes on a mission, he always leaves shadow clones to make sure that none of them hurts. That how moved me. I even apologized. He just told me that he didn't have to do it. Like a gentleman, he has behaved with me. Really, I like that, she said, a little blushing. Iruka. Well, I don't think so, since not everyone can forget how he took Kakashi's Sharingan in such a brutal way. Not only that, he left Yamato and Jiraiya in a serious state, and if my memory serves me right, he became paraplegic because of him. How was he able to do that to his senseis? Even more so, leave Sasuke in that state and have him execute him. I don't understand why they are celebrating so much if what he has done is be a damn ungrateful person, he said angrily. Shikaku. Yeah, and what is he supposed to be grateful for? Because if I remember correctly, both you and Kakashi, Jiraiya and Yamato were the main reason why he unleashed his full power. All because they blamed him for not having achieved his rescue mission, or because neither Kakashi nor Jiraiya openly confessed that they trained him poorly on purpose for the simple fact that they expected to see a small Minato, and when they saw nothing of him in his attitude they left him aside. Tell me, how do you think he felt at that moment? He said seriously. Guy, from that moment Hatake stopped being my rival. Do you think I put Lee and Tenten aside just for Niji because of how prodigious he is? Of course not. I looked for them even with their defects. I helped them overcome each one of them, and it was Naruto who helped Niji overcome his issue of believing in destiny, and he is a better person thanks to him. That boy had great potential, that Hatake and that Toad could have seen if it weren't for the fact that they expected to see an exact copy of the little yandere who are not able to overcome his death, and only wanted Naruto as a kind of consolation, he said seriously. Inoichi. And it was more than clear that she was not going to be exactly like him. It's as if I wanted my own daughter to be like me. That's not possible. He's your son, not a clone. Apart from the fact that Minato did not have the burden of the Kyuubi, that gives him many disadvantages. Terrible chakra control for having so many reserves that the third Hokage knew, and that nobody wanted to help him. That the only food they sold him was expired, without nutrients, eating free ramen from time to time, or that only reaches him for instant food is very bad, he said sighing. Hut, and I wanted the boy to be part of my clan. Many of us wanted to adopt him, but the civil council denied it along with those elders even when Danzo was in charge, and the worst of all is that neither Kakashi or Jiraiya wanted to adopt him despite the fact that one of them is his godfather, which makes things worse. Maybe if they had done what Minato and Kushina would have wanted, things would have been different, he said seriously. Yamato. I accept that maybe I shouldn't have blamed him for everything on the mission, even so there is no excuse. How was he able to take Kakashi's Sharingan? Do you know what happened? Now he feels like he doesn't have a part of him, and he's been depressed. It ruined his life. But it seems like none of you care, he said, blaming them. Hayashi. To begin with, that was the past. All of us sitting here have lost someone in due time due to wars, missions, among other things, and that Sharingan made him very dependent. The only reason he was known was because of that eye, and just as Naruto-sama said, without it he is nothing, he is not special, apart from the fact that having it was a way for him to cling to the past, he said seriously. Okami. Not to mention that what he was actually looking for was for him to become strong without his Sharingan, since he obtained it he became very dependent on it, and that, as his virtue, is also his weakness, and the fact that he is not able to overcome it, something that happened a long time ago, only shows how pathetic he is, he said, looking at him. Kurenai, and in case you forget, I just lost Asuma, the father of my future baby. Do you think I didn't cry? We all did it. Shikamaru, Chuji, and Ino did too, but Naruto helped them leave the past behind, stand up, and fight again like he would have wanted. On the other hand, since he is an adult, he must behave as such, she said seriously. With Naruto. He was in the forest. He had gone to train for a while, and when he finished said training he decided to take a nap, and in his mind he stayed for a while talking with his friend Bijou. They were talking about many topics about it. They were discussing a very important topic. Naruto, I already told you, I bet that with my strength I can destroy the seal that the goddess of death Shinigami put on me. Let's see if I can do it. You go out and you're free. But if you go out you must promise that you must behave. You can go out. We will feed you and you can eat the idiots that I took to the forest, and you can even torture them. What are you saying? It seems like a good deal, he said looking at him. Kurama, okay, I accept the bet and the conditions. I know you have immense strength, but I highly doubt that you will be able to destroy something that the Shinigami herself created. But let's see how it turns out, because whatever happens, I will end up winning, so I have nothing to lose, he said while watching the redhead approach his cage. He ended up using his fist that was about to hit him, but when he passed by, a yellow flash appeared, trying to avoid it. But it was completely in vain, so the bars began to fall, now leaving the Kyuubi completely free, who was stretching, although he felt a chakra that just feeling it made him growl in anger. And he wasn't the only one who was angry. The redhead felt that chakra, and seeing that disgusting face in his mind made him so angry that he hit his mental ground with so much force that he ended up creating a huge earthquake in his mind while he watched the blue-eyed blonde who was a little scared because of the threatening look he was giving him. Now, Naruto, so you were hidden in my mind, the person I hate the most in this world. Just seeing him disgusts me. Seeing this little man with what I have, his disgusting genes, and on top of everything, he was the one responsible for my life being complete shit since the damn day I was born. But it's something good. In the next few hours you're going to become my punching bag, and I hope you hold out to see if what your bootlickers say isn't a lie, he said, approaching dangerously. Minato, you wait. Naruto, I know you're angry, but understand that I had no choice. I had to seal the Kyuubi inside you. And yes, I witnessed everything you went through, but I'm not to blame for what happened. We can solve it by talking if it's not too much trouble, he said, scared since looking at his son was like seeing a male version of his wife, and he still remembered how she hit him every time he messed up. Naruto, that you had no choice. Of course, there are many choices. One of them is to talk to him. You think he is an animal that does not think, they feel. They know how he felt about being locked up. You could have chosen other garbage shinobis who lick your feet. I'm sure those idiots would have endured it if they are the elite jounins that they boast so much. You could have asked the Shinigami to take the Kyuubi's soul and give it to his stomach, or to seal his soul forever and have the power absorbed by her. But you did not choose that choice because deep down you were looking to give Konoha a Jinchuriki loyal to him, a weapon, and you chose your newborn son. Your idiot of a sensei was shit as your student. I already took care of making them pay for their punishment. But you will not be saved from what comes next, he said with a dead voice. Without further ado he lunged at him like a wild beast. He had no mercy at all. He tortured him with many blows where he drew a lot of blood. This lasted for about a few minutes until he finally began to feel how his chakra was beginning to fade away. And when this happened he ended up dedicating one last blow that ended up destroying him until he completely vanished from Naruto's mind. Although when he opened his eyes he had somehow felt good. Kurama, I saw it all and I must say I'm absolutely proud of you. You beat up Prince Minato even though the original is in the Shinigami's stomach. I enjoyed it like you have no idea. With what I saw you have earned my total respect in every sense of the word, and now that I'm free I feel very good, which reminds me, what are you going to do with the pain issue? That guy with the Rinnegan, since I can feel his presence. He's not far away, he said calmly while he looks at him. Naruto, for now, I will take care of making that bastard Uzumaki pay while he goes to the house with the seals that I designed myself. All of Konoha is capable of withstanding a powerful attack from those useless eyes. My clones also already know it, and are warning everyone, so don't worry, it will be so fast that we won't even take long." He said so that he would nod. After that, a few minutes passed, and almost in the middle of the Konoha village there were around 6 people, who had black heads with red clouds and had purple ringed eyes, while all of them stood around Konoha looking around the place only for one of them to speak, saying the following. "Pain. I am Pain and I am a god. We have come for the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. We want you to give it to us, or there will be serious consequences if you resist the will of God that will change this whole world. You will die," he said, being about to have his other selves go to different directions of Konoha. Until someone arrived at great speed, throwing a great blow that ended up crashing and creating a large crater where, when the smoke was created, it ended up taking the heads of 2 paths, being the Naraka and human paths, which this one ended up tearing off. When he did, they stopped having those eyes. While that was happening, he ended up throwing a punch that ended up sending the other 4 paths flying, who retreated due to the great brute force that he was demonstrating at this moment. Trying to attack more, however, this was pre-existing with his attacks. He attacked like a wild beast with all his might that had no mercy. He was concentrating on attacking the head part, because even though it was strong, he was more than aware that due to the abilities that Conan told him he had, they were going to be somewhat annoying, such as the one that has control of gravity, being that this was the one that gave him the most problems. The animal killed those summons as if they were nothing. No matter how many he had, this one killed them. The one who had the ability to transform parts of his body into weapons, his blades failed to pierce his skin as if it were nothing. The one who has the ability to absorb power, since he wasn't using any chakra, was the easiest to defeat. When everything ended and he ripped off the heads of each one of them, he took one of the bars that he managed to throw at them. Using his chakra concentration, he managed to find where their exact location was. Then he immediately went to a hidden part until he ended up staring at him. "Naruto. Ah, this is even worse than what Conan told me. Look at yourself, a completely malnourished body, completely weak, just using your puppets to do the dirty work for you. You are not a god, you are just an idiot like the rest of the shitty Uchihas who think they are arrogant and strong just because of those eyes. But without them you are nothing. You are without a doubt the greatest shame of the Uzumakis," he said angrily. "Nagato, so Conan betrayed us. That is something I did not expect, honestly. And now I understand how you managed to defeat me with ease, added to the fact that I see that you are a pure Uzumaki. But that does not change anything if I am not mistaken. You killed Kakuzu and Haiden. You have caused us many problems, really. But you must understand that I do this for the good of the world. With what Akatsuki does, I will be able to obtain true peace in this world," he said seriously. "Naruto, that's exactly what Conan said when I saw her, but let me burst your bubble of ignorance. That guy you follow is not the real Madara Uchiha. No matter how strong you are, the Uchihas have not managed to live that long, and more with age he should be an old man. That idiot pretends to be something he is not. Apart from that, I find him stupid. Tell me something. What is the use of having peace if there is no evil in the world that makes it lose its meaning? After all, if Yn did not exist, Yang would be useless. One cannot exist without the other. It is part of life. In case that happens, the person lives everything well and there is no evil. Over time they would begin to get bored to the point of being fed up, which would be convenient, a mental torture where they would want to die but cannot. So the infinite Tsukuyomi would bring more evil than good, or in the event that one of them is released they will feel all their imbalance, and their bodies would be so weak that they would suffer much more. And before you ask, I have someone who can confirm what I said, he said for a little fox to appear. Kurama. So he is Nagato Uzumaki, and before you ask, in front of you see my old container, and if what he said is true, that masked man with Sharingan is not the real Madara Uchiha. I got to know him, and his chakra is not the same, a little similar, but no. And to get rid of your idiot god complex, those eyes are not yours. The chakra they emanate does not belong to you, which means that they were implanted in you, and as I see it has a seal that prevents you from remembering some things. Naruto, do you think you can help him? He said, looking at him. When he said that, he ended up hitting his forehead. In doing so, he opened his eyes completely. Now he remembered, he had a mother and a father, and they were not killed by Konoha shinobi. It was the same masked man. Not only that, he remembered his family, the beautiful moments that he had, even his few blurry memories as a baby. It should be said that tears came out of him. All this time he was used by the same person who killed his parents, who imposed those eyes on him. He no longer knew what to think or what to do. Naruto, as I suspected, you were used more thoroughly by that masked man, and I see by your condition that you do not have much strength. Listen. I do not hate you, Nagato. You were used, and I know that you feel a lot of regret in your being. If you really want to help with your sins, there is one thing I want to ask you. As you know, the Uzumakis are very resistant. That says that our bodies do not decompose when we die. For that I will ask you a favor. I have the body of my mother Kushina. It disgusted me that she was buried with that bastard Namikaze, so I was planning to take her to the Uzumaki village and take her on a burning ship, but I know that you have the ability to revive the dead, and I want you to revive her more than anything since she is our blood, and it will be a good way for you to redeem yourself, he said seriously, and taking out said scrolls. Seeing the Uzumaki woman, Nagato, okay, I will use all the chakra I have left to revive her. It will actually end my life, but at least I will leave happy knowing that I did the right thing. Tell Konan to forgive me. I know I will not go to the same place where Yahiko is now, but it is the least I deserve. My whole life was a lie. I was manipulated all my life. I forgot my family, my parents, my little sister. Now I know that I had a family, and it was not Konoha who killed him, but that damn masked Naruto. I want to ask you for forgiveness before dying. Take good care of Konan. Kill that unfortunate Uchiha, but above all burn these cursed eyes, he said. To take out his hands, make seals. A large humanoid face appeared, devouring Kushina's body, chewing it many times for a while until it finally spit it out. When it did, it saw that now it clearly had better skin and now had slight signs of wanting to wake up. When it finished, it saw how she closed her eyes, now being dead, so without further ado, it took Nagato's eyes and ended up crushing them with its own muscular hands. Giving a sigh, knowing beforehand what was going to happen, although he didn't show it, he was feeling something that he himself believed he was not going to feel anymore. He was a little nervous because he was going to see his blood mother, the same one who gave her life to protect him, and he doesn't know how to act only to see how she opens her eyes. Little by little, being that she got up and spoke. Kushina, where am I? What's happening? Where am I? All I remember was the attack that happened. Wait, Kurama, what are you doing here? What's happening? Where is that damn masked man? Also, where is Minato? I swear I'll kill him for sealing you and our son. And where is my baby? How is she? Has she eaten well? How long have I been asleep? She said, looking at the fox, since they were friends for a long time. Kurama, you weren't asleep. You died the same day you gave birth, and exactly 16 years have passed since then, and how are you alive? Well, the man you see next to me is your son. He freed me from the seal, and I'm free. I know you know about seals. He ended up breaking them. That's why his hair isn't blonde. Anyway, now I'm going to go. The two of you have been talking a lot, he said, disappearing in an explosion. When doing so, both remained in complete silence. They didn't know how to speak. This was something new. Since it was something so natural for some, it was difficult to do so. The one who finally took courage was the woman who, without thinking twice, hugged the redhead. But this hug was not a normal one. It showed the love of a mother who cared about her son, feelings that he himself felt only for her. She says the following. Kushina, Naru-chan, my little one, just look how much you've grown. I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you throughout your childhood. You must have spent a lot of time alone without my love, but now all that is going to change. From now on, things are going to change for the better, and we'll do what every mother and son should do. She said in a soft tone as she looked at him. Naruto, I don't know what to think. I didn't think I'd feel this feeling again. I've never felt this kind of hugs, but I like it, and we will do it, Mom. There are really so many things that I'm going to tell you. I want to take this time for the two of us. I'll use clones to let the rest know, and I'll tell you everything that has happened during these years, he said. Time skipped 5 hours later. During that time he was telling her how his life was, telling many parts starting with how his life was, what Jiraiya Kakashi did, Yamato, the bad Hokage that was Hiruzen, the part about his girlfriends, what Danzo did, the part about the seals, among other things. Being that on the one hand there were some reactions, in some ways she was completely angry at how Kakashi, Jiraiya and Yamato talked about her son, why they trained him so badly just because his attitude was not like Minato's, whose anger was replaced by pride in his son, being how he beat him up. He even agreed to have removed Kakashi's Sharingan, leaving that stupid toad in that state. When he found out about his girlfriends, somehow it didn't bother him much, even if one of them was Tsunade, since she knows about his past and was happy that he could live his life, and that if Naruto were his partner, it wasn't something that mattered much to him, let's say, due to how the Uzumakis were in those aspects. Since some members of her clan approved the subject of incest, something that did not matter to her much, let's say that adding to the fact that she also knows about the Hanma, since she also inherited the character of her ancestors along with their strength, saying that he awakened the genes until he freed the back of the demon. Which made her feel 1,000 times more proud of him because of how he was advancing in his training. She decided to teach him the diamond chains, which he also wanted to do, and they were training a little. When they finished fighting, they decided to gather everyone from Konoha in a meeting explaining how things happened, the enemy and the power it possesses. Many were happy to see Kushina back. She also gave her blessing to all of Naruto's girlfriends, including the Hokage Tsunade herself, who hugged her tightly. While when they found out about those eyes, some civilians ended up protesting why she did it, but the one who screwed up was Mabuki Haruno, who had the idiocy to have said to Mato, even though it was her worst mistake. Naruto/Kushina. So you told us, Tomato, it seems that we are in the season of making a mask of idiot civilians who do not know their place will know the strength of the Hanma. Uzumaki said the two while their hair levitated in an intimidating way while making demonic faces which caused more than one to feel an indescribable fear. Their massacre was very well remembered throughout Konoha. They didn't see a bloody Havana native, they saw two red-haired demons carrying out a massacre with their blows, and of course the one who received the worst part was Mabuki Haruno, who ended up dead with the mark of both blows from the two. Which for them was a moment of coexistence between mother and son, their first massacre of blows together, such a beautiful event that both had beautiful smiles on their faces as they walked as if nothing had happened. Naruto's friends, when they saw that, confirmed 100% that it was his mother who was more terrifying than any mother that had ever existed in his entire life, so they decided to hang out together. While they stayed for a while talking, they went to Ikaraku's ramen and had a competition to see who would eat the most, ending in a tie. Things were going wonderfully, being that between girls they decided to go shopping while Naruto took his mother's things from the mansion they had so that she could move to one of their houses. We see how he was at home. He had already finished doing all that. When he did it, he went to lie down for a while in his bed while he had several thoughts about what to do, but when he did it, a familiar chakra had arrived, and when he arrived he saw Konan wearing her black cape with red clouds, which left him somewhat confused while he watched the woman who spoke to say the following to Konan: Narukuin, I truly thank you for everything. I have been happy the last few days that I have lived with you and the others. I have felt so good that a feeling that went from being more than admiration escalated to something more. I love you with all my being, and I already told your mother along with your girlfriends, and they accepted me to be part of your harem. Only of course if you want, and by the way, I want you to mark me as your property, she said, blushing while opening her cloak revealing white underwear. Naruto, I know it's hard for you to do that, and I accept your feelings that I have also felt. I had a good time with you, and I promise to protect you all and the future girls that I come to love in the same way I tell you that I love you, Konan, and I know that you are new to this thing of having relationships. I will try to guide you in the best way, so that we can enjoy this very well, he said to take her and kiss her lips while he laid her down on the bed. Using the time they had to have hex where he took her and penetrated her in many ways that the woman loved. Although if it weren't for the room that he absolutely made sure was soundproof, she would have taken advantage of it to do many things. In another part of the ninja world, we see a completely muscular blonde man who had scars from all his battles with eyes that were like those of a wild beast ready for anything, observing the whole place, seeing the bingo book, more specifically that of a redhead with brute strength, while he had a sadistic smile, while he says the following. Rayan. So it's true, another Hanma has appeared, and from what I see he is also an Uzumaki. He must be a descendant of my grandfather Yujiro. Ha 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 ha. This could not be more than perfect. Finally a worthy opponent of my level. I am going to show him how very strong I am and the power of my other clan, the Kure clan. Ha 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 ha, he said with a crazy and sadistic smile, imagining what combat was going to be like.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.